Chapter 438. From the time Jiang Qin met Mu Xingyun until now, Jiang Qin had always felt that Mu Xingyun was very steady in his work. He never fought a battle that he was not confident in. Now, Mu Xingyun actually said that he wanted to kill Jiang Haoren. This meant that Mu Xingyun's current combat strength was extremely strong. Of course, Mu Xingyun probably did not know that the combat strength of this fool, Jiang Haoren, was even more terrifying. At this moment, Jiang Haoren frowned and asked, "Do I have a grudge with you? Can't you kill me if you don't have a grudge?" Mu Xingyun smiled contemptuously and said, "Who asked you to be with him?" "Jiang Haoren. Let go of me. I'll do it myself," Jiang Qin said in a deep voice. Jiang Qin hated Mu Xingyun to the bone. This guy, not long after his rebirth, began to fight with him. There were even a few times when Jiang Qin almost died at the hands of Mu Xingyun. Now, when the enemy met, their eyes were exceptionally red. "No, I said that I would punish you." Jiang Haoren was very rigid and said, "There are still 2 days left." When Jiang Qin heard this, his face darkened and he glared and said, "Are you kidding me? If you don't let me out now, when I die, you'll release my corpse? If that's the case, I'll avenge you," Jiang Haoren said. Jiang Qin was speechless. He rolled his eyes and cursed in his heart. "When I'm dead, do I still need you to avenge me? Even if you avenge me, can I see it? If I'm dead, what's the use of revenge?" "Jiang Qin, the enmity between us will end today," Mu Xingyun said coldly. A shadow swayed behind him. That was his Tao soul. In the next moment, Mu Xingyun's figure disappeared on the spot. His aura also dissipated, making it impossible for anyone to detect him. Even Jiang Qin's heart tightened. He secretly thought that Mu Xingyun's concealment technique was becoming more and more profound. Jiang Qin's expression became increasingly unsightly as he sensed carefully. This was because he couldn't sense Mu Xingyun's aura, and he couldn't determine Mu Xingyun's position. In this way, Jiang Qin would be a live target while being suppressed. "Let me go." Jiang Qin was anxious and roared at Jiang Haoren, "I'm dead. You won't have it easy either." "Fellow Taoist, don't worry. I'm here." Jiang Haoren spoke solemnly. He waved his hand, and many light screens appeared around Jiang Qin. After the light screens were connected, they turned into a huge circular barrier, enveloping Jiang Qin and Jiang Haoren. "Fellow Taoist, with my overwhelming righteousness shield, no one can hurt you," Jiang Haoren said. However, at this moment, Jiang Qin's face was pitch black. This was because before the overwhelming righteousness shield rose, Mu Xingyun had already sneaked to his side. Now, Jiang Qin could feel that Mu Xingyun was on his left. "The overwhelming righteousness shield is useless. You've also covered Mu Xingyun," Jiang Qin almost roared. This was because he saw a cold light, like a swimming dragon, reaching between his eyebrows. Dong! In the next moment, before Jiang Qin could react, the cold light landed and bombarded between Jiang Qin's eyebrows. However, no blood flowed out. Only a sound like a bell being rung was heard. "What? Such a tough body? What's going on? He's not injured at all?" The surrounding people were dumbfounded. After being ambushed by a sage killer, Jiang Qin was not injured at all. Even Jiang Qin himself was stunned. He did not expect his body to be so strong now. However, after being hit between the eyebrows by his sworn enemy, Jiang Qin's heart was filled with hatred. "Jiang Haoren, let me go." Jiang Qin was furious. The power of heaven and earth in his body exploded, trying to break free from the shackles. Unfortunately, Jiang Haoren's cultivation was far above Jiang Qin's. His combat strength was even more terrifying. No matter how Jiang Qin struggled, the shackles on his body were still there. "Fellow Taoist, don't worry. I'll protect your life," Jiang Haoren said seriously. At this moment, Jiang Qin rolled his eyes and almost cursed. "You'll protect my life? Big brother, look carefully. If it wasn't for my strong physical body just now, I would have been dead already. Are you blind? Fellow Taoist Mu Xingyun, I advise you to stop now. Otherwise, I won't go easy on you," Jiang Haoren said in a low voice. What can you do to me? Mu Xingyun hid in the dark, ready to kill Jiang Chun at any time. However, just as Mu Xingyun finished speaking, he felt a terrifying aura of righteousness appear above his head. His figure was illuminated. At the same time, the aura of righteousness suppressed Mu Xingyun like a mountain. Huh? At this moment, Mu Xingyun was dumbfounded. He lay on the ground and struggled. However, he realized that the aura of righteousness on his body was as strong as a rock, indestructible. Just like Jiang Chun, he was suppressed just like that. Jiang Chun was also dumbfounded. He did not expect Jiang Haoran to be so strong. As the saying goes, in the world, only women and fools cannot be provoked. Someone nearby sighed. In the face of such a powerful fool like Jiang Haoran, many people could only smile bitterly. Fellow Daoist, you should stay here for 2 days and reflect on yourself, Jiang Haoran said to Mu Xingyun. After 2 days, I will let the two of you out. This fool, is he that strong? Mu Xingyun was also complaining in his heart. He didn't expect that he would be suppressed by someone else. Now, the two sworn enemies were lying on the ground, staring at each other. Neither of them could do anything to the other. What a shame! Jiang Chun pulled a long face. He had been suppressed in front of so many people. This was a disgrace to Tian Chen's name. Jiang Chen? Found you! Die! A day later, people came in one after another from outside the bloody road. When they saw Jiang Chun suppressed on the ground, these people did not say anything and rushed over with their spiritual power. Of course, Jiang Haoran had already warned them on the way, but these people did not listen. Since they did not listen to Jiang Haoran, it was very simple. In just half a day, there were more than a dozen geniuses suppressed by Jiang Chun around him. Among them, there was no lack of great sage-level monsters. King didn't see clearly. If I saw clearly that this was Jiang Haoran, this fool, I definitely would not have made a move. A great sage covered his face. Being suppressed here and being watched by so many people was simply too embarrassing. Look, isn't that the young master of the Tianyi family? That person looks familiar. He seems to be the young master of the Black Wind Mountain. Half a day later, more and more people were suppressed here. Some of them were very famous, and their identities were seen through at a glance. At that moment, many people had strange expressions on their faces. They were pointing at the people that were being suppressed. Jiang Haoran, you suppress so many people at once. Aren't you afraid that after we are released, we will join forces to deal with you? Jiang Chen asked. No, Jiang Haoran said seriously. With a noble spirit in my heart, I fear nothing. You are really a fool. Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. Chapter 439. Of course, Jiang Chun would not do anything to Jiang Chun. After all, the guy was just a little dumb and did not harbor any ill intentions toward Jiang Chun. However, Jiang Chun knew that those who were suppressed by Jiang Haoran would most likely join forces to deal with him. He was not sure if the idiot would be able to handle the situation. What kind of righteous chi is this? I've become dumb. Jiang Chun let out a sigh as he covered his face with his hands and buried his head in the ground. His face was blushing. How could he not blush? The great supreme martial emperor Tian Chun was suppressed. The righteous chi was a mysterious force of the heavens and earth. The righteous chi was the cultivation of one's heart, righteousness, and will. There were only two types of people who cultivated an orange chi of righteousness. One was an idiot like Jiang Haoran, while the other was an extremely intelligent person. Currently, the great chi sect of the godless continent was full of idiots. Otherwise, why would Jiang Haoran be the only disciple left? The other disciples were most likely killed by their own stupidity. The competition in the Ninth City has always been the fiercest since ancient times. It seems like it's true. Someone said with a strange expression. He glanced at Jiang Haoran and asked the person beside him, do you think he can leave the Ninth City alive? I'm afraid it'll be difficult. Someone shook his head and said, he has offended too many people. It would be a pity if someone like him were to die. Someone let out a sigh. The heavens and earth do need a few people to uphold justice. There's no such thing as justice. In this world, strength is everything. Without strength, there's no justice. Someone said. Meanwhile, the people suppressed by Jiang Haoran were covering their faces, as they did not want anyone to see their faces. However, those who were able to enter the path of blood were considered geniuses in the godless continent. Even if these people covered their faces, they would still be easily recognized. Yo, the reincarnation of Supreme Martial Emperor Tianqin. Why is he being suppressed? At that instant, a disciple of the Darkness Shrine approached them with a disdainful look. He even revealed Jiang Qin's identity. Jiang Qin didn't care about that at all. After all, this kind of secret would be exposed sooner or later. However, when the surrounding people heard this, their expressions changed. Some people were shocked, while others widened their eyes in disbelief. Some of them even had a fighting spirit in their eyes, wanting to fight Jiang Qin. Oh, even the reincarnation of the heavenly stellar God King was suppressed? Then it makes sense that we were suppressed. Yeah, it's not embarrassing at all. It's not embarrassing at all. Look at Divine King Tianqin's reincarnation. Isn't he still suppressed? For a moment, those who had been suppressed were in high spirits. Each and every one of them began to compare themselves with Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin's face darkened when he heard that. He was very unhappy in his heart. Please, everyone was suppressed by the same person. Was there a need to say that? You're talking as if it's not embarrassing for you to be suppressed. It's time. Another day passed. Jiang Haoran stood up and formed a seal with his hands, removing the shackles and restraints on everyone. In an instant, a terrifying aura erupted. Killing intent turned into a gust of wind that whistled. Jiang Haoran, you'll die first. What righteousness? Only strength matters in this world. How dare you suppress us? Are you tired of living? At that moment, the group of people who had been suppressed by Jiang Haoran previously joined forces and charged towards Jiang Haoran. On the other hand, Jiang Qin was completely fine. They all pointed their spears at Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin was like an outsider. Even Mu Xingyun ignored Jiang Qin and charged towards Jiang Haoran. This fool! It's a pity that he died, Jiang Qin sighed. However, in the face of so many monstrous talents whose cultivation levels were higher than his, Jiang Qin could not help even if he wanted to. If they were outside, Jiang Qin could execute secret techniques or even forbidden techniques to help Jiang Haoran. However, in the blood path, secret techniques could be used, but forbidden techniques were restricted and could not be used. Besides, the entrance of the ninth city had yet to be opened. Even if they wanted to escape, they would not be able to escape from the ninth city. If that was the case, how could he help? Cultivator, I can't even protect myself, Jiang Qin said with a wry smile. I only believe in reason, Jiang Haoran said in a serious tone. I don't need your help. I believe that justice still exists in this world. Screw you, someone yelled furiously. After being suppressed by Jiang Haoran for a few days, his heart was filled with anger. Back off. At that instant, a deep voice could be heard. Then, a young man dressed in white with golden patterns on his body walked toward them step by step. Furthermore, after he said those words, the people that were originally planning to attack Jiang Haoran all stopped. Prince of the Great Xia Dynasty, Xia Juyo. At that instant, the surrounding people exclaimed, and some of them could not help but tremble. This was because the prince of the Great Xia Dynasty, Xia Juyo, was infamous. His cultivation had reached the upper level of the Supreme Sage, and he had received the true teachings of the Great Xia Dynasty. He was the next emperor. Such a person could not be offended. Most importantly, Xia Juyo's strength was truly too formidable. Moreover, he killed decisively, and practically no one present here could go against him. Xia Juyo, what do you mean? At that moment, a disciple of the Darkness Shrine asked in a deep voice. He did not understand Xia Juyo's intention. In the future, I will be in charge of an empire, and I will need to learn more etiquette, Xia Juyo said. Father said that I am too vicious and do not care about etiquette. I also do not understand the mind of an emperor. Therefore, after entering the blood path, he wants me to learn more from Jiang Haoran. Even if I do not understand the mind of an emperor, I still need to know etiquette. Your father wants you to follow this fool? Someone was shocked. The prince of the great Xia dynasty actually wanted to learn etiquette from a fool? Did he hear it wrongly? Even Zhang Haoran was stunned for a moment. He couldn't believe it. However, Xia Juyo seemed very serious. He walked directly to Zhang Haoran and bowed. I am the prince of the great Xia dynasty, Xia Juyo. Greetings, teacher. Teacher? What the F asterisk CK? At that moment, the surrounding people were dumbfounded. They could not understand why Xia Juyo called him teacher. One should know that with Xia Juyo's status, what did it mean to call someone teacher? It meant that this person was the teacher of the next emperor of the great Xia dynasty. I am not your teacher. However, if you want to learn some etiquette, I can teach you. Zhang Haoran was not modest at all. He said righteously, follow me from now on. Yes, teacher. Xia Juyo nodded. All of you. Why are you still not leaving? At the next moment, Xia Juyo looked at the surrounding people with murderous intent and said, if you don't leave, then stay. Chapter 440. The group of people who had surrounded Zhang Haoran were all very strong. Any one of them could be considered a true genius. However, when facing Xia Juyo, these people were terrified. Firstly, they were not as strong as Xia Juyo. Secondly, their status was not as high as Xia Juyo's. As such, if they were to become enemies with Xia Juyo, they would probably be killed. Moreover, even though Xia Juyo was all alone now, his prestige was extremely great. Perhaps so long as he gave the order, his followers would stand out from the crowd in the surroundings. Xia Juyo, I admit that you are very strong. However, you must know that this is the blood path. No matter how strong you are, you cannot be invincible. Someone said in a deep voice. He was very dissatisfied with Xia Juyo's actions. Humans are not invincible from the moment they are born. True invincibility needs to be achieved step by step, punch by punch. Xia Juyo said, I admit that I'm not invincible, but there will be a day when I'll be invincible. Haha. As expected of the prince of the great Xia dynasty. I, Zhao Tuhong, admire your courage. At that moment, a young man with a staff in his hand walked over. He narrowed his eyes, and there was a smile on his face. With the appearance of this person, the atmosphere at the scene immediately became tense. This was because this person was the prince of the Yuhua dynasty. The Yuhua dynasty and the great Xia dynasty had been rivals since ancient times. The two dynasties often fought each other. It was only recently that things had calmed down a little. Now that the princes of the two dynasties had met, the crowd had a premonition that a storm was about to strike. Some people even dared to say that only one of the princes of the two dynasties would be able to walk out of the ninth city alive. Zhao Tuhong, long time no see. Xia Juyo said softly. A trace of murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he said, the ninth city should be our home, right? I still have a long way to go. I don't want to waste time with you here. Zhao Tuhong chuckled and said, the road ahead is long. I will wait for you at the end of the blood path. All right, let's fight to the death at the end of the blood path. Xia Juyo said. After that, Zhao Tuhong did not leave. Instead, his gaze fell on Jiang Chun. When Jiang Chun saw Zhao Tuhong and learned of his identity, he knew that this person would most likely attack him. That was because the ancestor of the Yuhua dynasty was none other than the Yuhua master god of the nine heavens divine world. This person was a mortal enemy of Jiang Chun. Now that Jiang Chun's identity had been exposed, the people of the Yuhua dynasty had most likely received the Yuhua Lord God's divine decree. Now that Zhao Tuhong had appeared, he must have come to kill Jiang Chun. Zhang Haoran is here. Then we can only fight one-on-one. Zhao Tuhong looked helpless, but also seemed to be somewhat afraid of Zhang Haoran. Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows and said, is the descendant of the Feather Master, God, really not afraid of death? What a joke! Zhao Tuhong said disdainfully, what can a mere lower heaven realm do to me? As he spoke, Zhao Tuhong pointed a finger, and pieces of sparkling and translucent feathers seemed to appear on his fingertip. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the next moment, the feathers burst forth and flew like a stream of light, carrying a terrifying aura as they charged straight at Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun focused his eyes and retreated rapidly. He moved to the side for a distance and avoided Zhao Tuhong's attack. Immediately after, Jiang Chun stomped on the ground and rushed out like a stream of light. In his hand, chasing heaven rumbled, sword chi lingered, and a desolate aura spread out. The inheritance of the desolate god will also belong to me today. Zhao Tuhong narrowed his eyes, and a pair of wings appeared on his back. At the same time, he formed seals with both hands, and the staff in his hand stood in front of him. Transcendent, flying, immortal. Before Jiang Chun could rush over, Zhao Tuhong shouted, and the runes on his body erupted. In the sky, a resplendent figure appeared. This figure seemed to have come from above the 9 heavens, and as it swooped down, the sky changed color. That's a meteorite? That's a spell. The Yuhua dynasty's secret technique. Someone exclaimed. Many people were familiar with the transcendent flying immortal. According to legend, there was once a powerhouse in the Yuhua dynasty who used the transcendent flying immortal to destroy a great sect that had been passed down for 10,000 years. A spell? Jiang Chun whispered and stopped his body. Then his mental strength erupted, and he formed seals with both hands. Runes appeared around him. The runes shone brightly, and in a few breaths, they merged into one. Then, a huge ice pillar rushed out from the ground. Boom! After a few breaths, when the ice pillar collided with the meteorite, a series of shocking explosions sounded. Then, a rain of fire and ice fell from the sky. Pieces of rocks covered in frost also fell down, smashing huge craters into the 9th city. You want to fight with me using spells? You're really confident. Zhao Tuhong said contemptuously. Don't you know that the strongest thing in the Yuhua dynasty is spells? The Yuhua dynasty, which used to submit to me, seems like you're quite imposing now, Jiang Chun said mockingly. Before I ascended, what was your Yuhua dynasty? You had to submit to my Chuanzuan sect. Shut up. The Yuhua dynasty has never submitted to anyone. Zhao Tuhong was furious. Then, a ray of light burst out from the staff in front of him. In the next moment, 9 brilliant suns appeared in the sky, one after another. The radiant suns connected and turned into a ring, which emitted a scorching hot aura and a terrifying energy, and it pressed down on Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun suddenly felt a trace of pressure. He hurriedly formed seals with both hands and pressed them on the ground. Then he shouted, 3,000 floating doors! Boom! Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, numerous huge and ancient doors rose from the ground. The 3,000 portals soared into the sky and collided with the 9 suns. It was like a great apocalypse. In just a few breaths, the crowd only saw clusters of fireworks blooming. Terrifying energy wandered, as if the world was wandering between destruction and rebirth. As expected of Tian Chen's reincarnation, his combat strength is so strong. He's only at the lower heaven realm, but he can actually defeat a great sage. Someone exclaimed, Defeat? Heh, Zhao Tuhong hasn't used his true strength yet. Someone sneered. The gap between realms becomes more obvious the further one goes, especially for these geniuses. Sometimes, the gap between realms is like a ravine that is difficult to cross. Interesting. At this moment, the 9 brilliant suns and the 3,000 floating doors were destroyed at the same time. Zhao Tuhong stood in the air and looked down at Jiang Chun. He said, Hand over your inheritance, and I can consider letting you live for a few more days. Let him live for a few more days? Are you qualified? All of a sudden, a handsome figure appeared beside Jiang Chun. There seemed to be a flame burning in his eyes. The spiritual energy in his body was roaring like an erupting volcano. The blood in his body rushed out from the top of his head like a dragon and turned into a blood cloud in the sky above his head. Chapter 441. The people around were a little confused because the person who had just appeared had reached the upper level of the great sage. Moreover, his vitality was soaring like a giant beast. In particular, the reddish-gold radiance on his body gave people a feeling of indestructibility. However, the people present were all famous powerhouses on the godless continent. They had seen many geniuses. Even if they hadn't seen them, they had seen their portraits and knew some information. However, no one present had seen this person before. You, upper level of the great sage? That's not appropriate, is it? At this moment, Jiang Qin's expression was strange, and his heart was twitching. Because this person was Jiang Lu. After not seeing him for a while, Jiang Lu's cultivation had skyrocketed and reached the upper level of the great sage. This made Jiang Qin, the boss, feel embarrassed. It's you, Jiang Qin's little brother, the descendant of the samurai ghost. After a dozen breaths, someone finally recognized Jiang Lu and marveled at how Jiang Lu's cultivation had suddenly skyrocketed. At this moment, Jiang Lu turned around, looked at Jiang Qin, and said with a smile, "Boss, long time no see. You little brat, what's the matter with your cultivation?" Jiang Qin frowned and said, "It's not a good thing for your cultivation to skyrocket. You have to pay attention to the stability of your foundation. Cultivation has to be done step by step." "Boss, I'll explain to you about my cultivation later," Jiang Lu said. Then his gaze fell on Zhao Tuhong. The killing intent in his eyes skyrocketed, and he said coldly, "You want my boss's life? Are you worthy?" In this era, any Tom, Dick, or Harry dares to shout in front of me, Zhao Tuhong said contemptuously. The magic staff in front of him was surrounded by divine light, and a thunder dragon could be vaguely seen swimming. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Tuhong waved his hand, and a shocking dragon roar came from the magic staff. Immediately after, a thunder dragon rushed out, carrying with it a monstrous thunder light, directly towards Jiang Lu. "If I'm a Tom, Dick, or Harry, then what are you?" Jiang Lu raised his eyebrows. His body was like a rock, standing in front of Jiang Qin, allowing the thunder dragon to fall without moving an inch. Boom! In the next moment, when the lightning dragon collided with Jiang Lu's body, a loud explosion rang out. When the lightning dissipated, everyone was shocked to find that Jiang Lu was still standing in the same place, like a vigorous ancient tree. Moreover, there wasn't a single wound on his body. The sacred Archean body has evolved? Jiang Qin's eyes narrowed. He had not expected that even the sacred Archean body could evolve. There were many saintly bodies in the world, but not all of them could be upgraded. Just like the sacred body of the Archean, no one had been able to advance it since ancient times. "Now, I have the sacred body of eternity," Jiang Lu said honestly. Then he bent his body slightly like a cheetah. His gaze was locked onto Zhao Tuhong. It seemed that as long as Jiang Qin gave the word, he would rush out and behead Zhao Tuhong. "Don't attack." However, Jiang Qin hurriedly stopped him and gave Jiang Lu a look. Hearing this, Jiang Lu was stunned for a moment. He didn't understand what Jiang Qin meant. "What? You don't dare to attack?" Zhao Tuhong said contemptuously, "That's right. I am the prince of the Yuhua dynasty. You're just a commoner. How dare you attack me?" "You think too much." Jiang Qin curled his lips and pointed at Zhao Tuhong's head, saying, "Your heavenly tribulation has arrived." Hearing this, Zhao Tuhong was dumbfounded. He didn't even feel the aura of the heavenly tribulation. How could others sense it? "You still want to lie to me?" Zhao Tuhong's eyes narrowed, and a trace of fierceness flashed in his eyes. He said, "Today, even if the heavenly king is here, I will kill you right here." Boom! However, just as he finished speaking, everyone saw a tribulation cloud appear above Zhao Tuhong's head. "I have gone through so many heavenly tribulations, heavenly punishment, and heavenly wrath. How could I not know that your heavenly tribulation has arrived?" Jiang Qin said mockingly, "Take your time. I hope you can survive." Zhao Tuhong's heavenly tribulation? He is going to enter the divine state? Exclamations came from all around. Everyone dispersed, not wanting to be implicated by Zhao Tuhong's heavenly tribulation. Jiang Chun and Jiang Lu were also retreating. After all, that was Zhao Tuhong's divine state heavenly tribulation. The two of them didn't want to get involved. At this moment, Zhao Tuhong's expression was very ugly, as if he had eaten dog shit. It was because even if he survived the heavenly tribulation here, he would be seriously injured. And this was the bloody path. Anyone could become his enemy. What if he was seriously injured? It really came at the wrong time, Zhao Tuhong said in a deep voice. He glared coldly at Jiang Chun and said, "I will let you go today. Take care of yourself first." Jiang Chun said mockingly, "Don't die in the heavenly tribulation when the time comes." Boom! As soon as Jiang Chun finished speaking, everyone saw an extremely bewitching, blood-red lightning strike Zhao Tuhong's body. In an instant, Zhao Tuhong's entire body trembled, and blood sprayed out of his mouth. A series of spiderweb-like cracks appeared on his physical body. His entire person was like a porcelain vase that was about to shatter. What the F***CK? What kind of heavenly tribulation is this? A bolt of lightning seriously injured Zhao Tuhong? Exclamations came from all around, and they were even more shocked. Even Jiang Chun was surprised, thinking to himself that that was the demon divine tribulation. Only people of the demon race would transcend this kind of heavenly tribulation, and the power of the demon divine tribulation was too terrifying. It wasn't what ordinary people could transcend. In fact, even people of the prodigy level were very likely to die in this demon divine tribulation. The people of the Yuhua dynasty are all demons. Someone explained, they are all people of the spirit bird race. Legend has it that they possess the bloodline of the ancient Wan bird. No wonder Jiang Chun was relieved. Following that, everyone stood quietly in the distance, watching Zhao Tuhong transcend the tribulation. One had to admit that Zhao Tuhong was really very strong. Even when facing the demon divine tribulation, he didn't die. Several times when he was on the brink of life and death, Zhao Tuhong would execute some methods to tide over it. All the way until half an incense stick's time later, Zhao Tuhong's heavenly tribulation disappeared. He was covered in injuries all over, but his cultivation reached the low-level deity realm. After entering the bloody path, cultivation was no longer restricted and could keep advancing. Now, this Zhao Tuhong was likely the first person to enter the deity realm in the bloody path. I, Zhao Tuhong, am the first person to enter the deity realm in the bloody path. From now on, this bloody path will be ruled by me. Zhao Tuhong laughed wildly, his hair dancing, a look of insolence. Poork. However, before he could laugh enough, everyone saw a cold light flash past, directly piercing through Zhao Tuhong's glabella. Just like that, Zhao Tuhong, who had just transcended the heavenly tribulation and stepped into the deity realm, died on the spot. The first person to step into the deity realm and the bloody path died, just like that. Someone was dumbfounded. Everyone was also rather confused. But at this moment, only to see beside Zhao Tuhong, Mu Xingyun waved the bloodstains on the dagger in his hand and said disdainfully, "Suffering such serious injuries, not finding a place to hide and recuperate, but thinking of ruling the bloody path? What's in your head? Didn't expect that I let you succeed first." The first person to step into the deity realm tends to not go far. Moreover, even transcending the tribulation in front of so many people, simply courting death. Chapter 442. At that instant, several dark masters appeared around Mu Xingyun. It was obvious that they were planning to assassinate Zhao Tuhong too. After all, if Zhao Tuhong did not die, he would be able to rule the bloody path with his cultivation and combat strength. At the very least, Zhao Tuhong would be able to control everything in the 9th city. None of the people present were kind people, who would be willing to let someone else control their life and death. Therefore, when Zhao Tuhong finished his tribulation, the Dark Masters immediately made their moves. He is destined to die prematurely. Xiaojio let out a sigh. He had initially thought that he would have a fight to the death with Zhao Tuhong at the end of the bloody path. Who would have thought that Zhao Tuhong would die here? No one had expected Zhao Tuhong who was supposed to rule the bloody path, to die just like that. Even Jiang Chun was struck dumb. He thought to himself that it wasn't good to be too high profile. This was the bloody path, where geniuses and monsters gathered. There was no lack of monstrous experts too. If one was too high profile in front of these people, they were destined to die prematurely. Buzz! Suddenly, a loud buzz could be heard in the ninth city. Following that, everyone saw droplets of rain-like things appear in the sky. The raindrops were glowing with a divine light and emitted a pure aura. The real massacre has only just begun. Someone wore a stern expression. He knew what the raindrops in the sky were. It was a gift from the ninth city. It was the purest energy in the world. Anyone who obtained the raindrops would be able to strengthen their cultivation without any side effects. There was once a person who obtained more than 10 drops and rose to power overnight. His cultivation soared by a large margin. It's raining. It's going to be a bloodbath. Someone let out a sigh. No one could remain calm after seeing the raindrops. These geniuses were all trying to get their hands on a few more raindrops. However, there were only a few thousand raindrops. However, there were tens of thousands of people in the ninth city. It would be a joke if a fight did not break out when so many people were fighting over the raindrops. Get them! At that instant, someone let out a roar. He was extremely powerful and was an upper-level great sage. As soon as he finished his sentence, dozens of his followers dashed out and headed straight for the raindrops in the sky. Everyone, get them! Kill those who dare to snatch them. At that instant, the ninth city was in complete chaos. The geniuses and their followers sprang into the sky and competed for the raindrops. In just a dozen breaths of time, blood and corpses fell from the sky. If I can get one drop, my cultivation will probably be able to break through to the upper level of the heaven realm. Jiang Chun was well aware of the power of these raindrops. Just one drop would allow him to improve his cultivation by leaps and bounds. However, facing so many sky prides, it was difficult for Jiang Chun to make a move. If he was the slightest bit careless, it was extremely likely that he would be besieged and even perish here. However, Jiang Chun did not want to miss such a rare opportunity. Let's go all out. Jiang Chun thought to himself. His eyes narrowed as he formed a seal with both hands. In the next moment, Jiang Chun's body was illuminated by Buddhist light, and his entire person was like a brilliant sun. The Bodhi glow was emitted, which encapsulated the entire ninth city within a few breaths' time. All living beings are equal. At that instant, Jiang Chun uttered a roar as he executed the secret technique of the Buddhist sect. All living beings are equal. This time, Jiang Chun's target was not a single person, but everyone in the ninth city. Only when everyone's cultivation was equal would Jiang Chun have the chance to acquire the raindrops. Otherwise, trying to compete with the martial emperors and martial sacred realm cultivators would be the same as digging his own grave. Even if he managed to acquire the raindrops, Jiang Chun would not be able to escape unscathed. Jiang Chun, you're asking for it. Damn it. Another secret technique of the Buddhist sect. At that instant, a series of curses could be heard. Some even targeted Jiang Chun and charged at Jiang Chun with a thunderous aura. Humph, do you think I'm afraid of you? Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows, but he did not make his move. The reason being that Jiang Chun did not have the time to make his move as he had to maintain such a powerful secret technique. However, even if Jiang Chun did not have the time to make his move, there were plenty of people who could. Go and get a few more raindrops, Jiang Chun said to Jiang Lu. Jiang Lu was very obedient, but there was a trace of worry in his eyes. Will you be okay? Jiang Lu asked. Jiang Chun had no time to take care of other people when he executed the equality of all living beings in the ninth city. If someone were to attack Jiang Chun now, Jiang Chun would not even have the chance to fight back. What are you afraid of? They can't kill me, Jiang Chun said with a wry smile. Hurry up and get more raindrops. Okay, be careful. Jiang Lu nodded and immediately rushed out. At that moment, many people rushed toward Jiang Chun with murderous intent. Among them, there were many disciples of the Divine Light cult and the Dark Shrine. These people originally wanted to kill Jiangchen. Now that the ninth city was in chaos, Jiangchen could no longer maintain fairness. In this way, it would be the best time to kill Jiangchen. Today, I'll tell you. Jiangchen's eyes narrowed, and he said with a serious expression, I'll give you all a free hit. F***CK. I thought he was going to say something scary. Are you admitting defeat? Just a free hit? Today, I'll kill you. Sounds of disdain and mockery could be heard. Dreadful fluctuations erupted. One after another, violent attacks were launched at Jiangchen. Jiangchen was maintaining the equality of all living beings. He did not have the strength to fight back. He could not even move an inch. With a wry smile, he stood still and allowed the attacks to land on his body. He did not move an inch. Moreover, when those attacks came into contact with Jiangchen's body, they all collapsed, and they couldn't injure Jiangchen at all. What a powerful body! Someone exclaimed. Then use spells. Use your mind power. Someone said. However, when the spells and mind power attacks landed on Jiangchen, a layer of glass-like radiance appeared on Jiangchen's body. His mind power was like a whirlpool that dissolved all the spells and dispersed all the mind power attacks. Not only is his body strong, but his mind power is even more powerful. Someone exclaimed as he slashed a sky piercer at Suke. However, when the attack landed on Jiangchen, it was as if it had hit a boulder. He did not move an inch. What a waste of time. Jiangchen felt bitter. At that moment, he didn't even fight back when they hit him or scolded him. However, as long as he could get a few raindrops, he could endure being hit. He was afraid that he would not be able to get any raindrops after being hit. In that case, he would have been hit for nothing. I don't believe that you're so tough. Someone shouted angrily as he formed a seal with his hands. He had used a secret technique. In the next instant, an azure dragon appeared out of thin air. It exuded a dragon's might, as if it had been summoned. After the azure dragon appeared, its 5 claws came crashing down on Jiangchen's head. Help me! Jiangchen was shocked. If he was hit by the azure dragon's claws, even if the top of his head was not torn open, it would most likely be cracked. Fortunately, Jiangchen was prepared. He roared, and the vermilion bird king that resided in his soul suddenly appeared. Screech! Following a long screech, the azure dragon's pupils contracted and a look of fear appeared on its face. It withdrew, not paying any attention to its master. It turned around and fled into the void, directly running away. Chapter 443. What the hell is that? The person who summoned that song dragon exclaimed in shock. That song dragon was a pure-blooded true dragon. Although its level was not very high among the dragon tribe and could not be compared to the 5-clawed golden dragon, it was still relatively strong. Normal living beings would be intimidated by the song dragon's aura and would not even think of resisting. But now, a small bird the size of a palm had scared that song dragon away with a long cry. Vermilion bird! The vermilion bird looked proud and arrogant. It wanted to say a few more words, but Jiangchen pushed it back into its soul. After all, the vermilion bird king could not be exposed casually. This guy belonged to the forbidden area. If the heavens found out, the vermilion bird king would definitely die. Kid, remove all lives equal. Do you want to become the public enemy? At this moment, someone in the sky shouted angrily. His eyes were full of anger. This was because these people could have easily obtained the raindrops with their advantage in cultivation level. But now that Jiangchen had done this, their cultivation level was equal. Naturally, their advantage was gone. Without their advantage, it would be very difficult to obtain the raindrops. They might even be killed. If you remove all lives equal, then what hope do I have of obtaining the raindrops? Jiangchen looked at those people as if he was looking at idiots. Then I'll kill you first. Kill him. At this moment, more and more people were unhappy with Jiangchen. A few demon-level youths wielded divine weapons and charged towards Jiangchen. Jiangchen was very calm about this. After all, in the same cultivation level, Jiangchen was not afraid of anyone. Even if they had divine weapons, Jiangchen was still not afraid. Ding! Dong! In the next moment, A few divine weapons smashed onto Jiang Chen's body. However, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. There were even a few divine weapons that were directly broken. What the F asterisk CK? What kind of physical body is this? Can this still be called a physical body? This is a piece of divine gold. The group of people were dumbfounded. Even the divine weapon could not hurt Jiang Chen. Then how could they kill him? Everyone, don't worry. Once I get the raindrops, I'll remove all lives equal. Jiang Chen smiled. Don't worry, I don't want much. I only want 3 raindrops. 3 drops? Someone said with a gloomy face. There are tens of thousands of people here, but there are only thousands of raindrops. You want 3 raindrops alone? What nonsense! Someone rebuked angrily. In response, Jiang Chen shrugged nonchalantly and said, Then I'm afraid this all lives equal technique will continue. At that time, if you can't get the raindrops, don't blame me. The moment he said that, the monstrous geniuses were speechless. Without the art of all lives equal, it would be easy for them to obtain a single raindrop with their strength. But now, under the effects of all lives equal, it would be difficult for them to obtain even a single drop. With this thought in mind, they looked at each other and nodded helplessly. Then, they agreed to Jiang Chen's request. After a few breaths, the monstrous geniuses joined forces with Jiang Lu to snatch the raindrops. With the help of the monstrous geniuses, Jiang Lu snatched the raindrops at a much faster speed. After a fierce battle, Jiang Lu brought back 3 raindrops and gave them to Jiang Chen. Boss, your cultivation is too low. These 3 raindrops are all for you, Jiang Lu said honestly. Jiang Chen did not stand on ceremony and took all the raindrops. After all, with his current cultivation, if he did not improve it, he would not be able to reach the end of the bloody path. Why aren't you removing it? At that moment, someone shouted angrily, We've helped you get 3 raindrops. Your request has been fulfilled. Remove all lives equal technique quickly. Okay, Jiang Chen said softly. With a wave of his hand, the Buddha's light that shrouded the 9th city disappeared immediately. At that moment, the expressions of the people in the 9th city changed. Their cultivation had been restored to its peak. Now that my cultivation has been restored, all of you bastards will be suppressed. A monstrous young man roared and pressed down with his palm. Then, a supreme talent at the upper level of the great sage was killed instantly. Kid, I've given you all 3 raindrops. However, it depends on whether you're still alive to enjoy them. The people who helped Jiang Chen snatch the raindrops shouted angrily. When they saw that Jiang Chen was only at the lower level of the heaven realm, their eyes were filled with killing intent. In response, Jiang Chen retreated and used the concealment technique to hide himself. Where is he? Forget about him. We've recovered our cultivation. Let's snatch the raindrops first. In the end, those people temporarily gave up on Jiang Chen and rushed into the sky. At that moment, Jiang Chen was hiding in the dark. After swallowing a raindrop, his cultivation instantly skyrocketed. In just 3 breaths' time, Jiang Chen's cultivation had broken through to the middle level of the heaven realm. This made Jiang Chen a little confused. In the past, Jiang Chen had also consumed these raindrops. He knew how powerful these raindrops were. 1 drop was enough to raise his cultivation to the upper level of the heaven realm. However, this time, Jiang Chen's state only improved by 1 small state with each drop of rain. Could it be that my foundation in this life is too strong? Jiang Chen thought, and swallowed another raindrop. This time, Jiang Chen's cultivation had skyrocketed again. However, it had only reached the critical point of the middle level of the heaven realm. What the F asterisk CK? Jiang Chen was confused. It was not good to have such a strong foundation. An ordinary person could break through to the next level with just 1 raindrop. However, he had used 2 raindrops and was still at the middle level of the heaven realm. In desperation, Jiang Chen could only swallow the last raindrop. Buzz! At this moment, Jiang Chen's aura skyrocketed. He had finally broken through to the upper level of the heaven realm. At the same time, Jiang Chun felt that his heavenly tribulation was coming because of his cultivation of the Qing Tsang skill. 3 calamities, 9 tribulations, and 18 tribulations. If they come together, I will be struck to death. Jiang Chun felt bitter. If he were to undergo the heavenly tribulation here, even if he succeeded, he would most likely end up like Zhao Tuhong. In desperation, Jiang Chun could only suppress his cultivation to the lower level of the heaven realm. This was the only way to delay the arrival of the heavenly tribulation. Kill the purity of heaven? Suddenly, a commotion broke out in the 9th city. Someone even dashed into the sky and flew up into the clouds. When Jiang Chun heard this, he looked up. When he saw the raindrops that were the size of a fist above the clouds, he was immediately moved. That was the king of raindrops, the purity of heaven that only existed in legends. The effect of 1 drop of the purity of heaven was comparable to the effect of 10 ordinary raindrops. Moreover, there was a rumor that the purity of heaven contained a mysterious power that might be related to the 6th Tao. Jiang Lu. At this moment, Jiang Chun came out from the darkness and shouted at Jiang Lu, "Charge!" Okay. Jiang Lu was very obedient. After nodding, the reddish-gold light on his body surged. His figure was like a primordial beast as he rushed up to the clouds. At the same time, Jiang Chun saw that Jiang Haoran, Xia Juyo, and the others had also rushed up to the purity of heaven. Chapter 444. No one could remain calm in the face of the purity of heaven. Even Jiang Haoran, who cultivated the righteous qi, was moved at the moment. The competition in the bloody path was cruel and fierce. Everyone wanted to improve their strength, seek protection, and protect themselves. Now an opportunity to improve their strength was in front of them. No matter who it was, they wanted to fight and give it a try. Sai, I'm in a dilemma. At the moment, Jiang Chun was at the 9th stage. In order to avoid the disaster, he suppressed his cultivation to the lower heavenly realm. So, with his strength, how could he snatch the purity of heaven? He could only pin his hope on Jiang Lu. However, after only a dozen breaths, Jiang Chun's face became gloomy. That was because many people knew about the relationship between Jiang Chun and Jiang Lu. Therefore, when Jiang Lu rushed up, he was targeted. Dozens of people joined forces to launch an attack on Jiang Lu. In an instant, Jiang Lu was drowned out. Fortunately, Jiang Lu's sacred Archean body had evolved into the sacred body of eternity. His physical body was extremely strong. Otherwise, Jiang Lu's fate would have been sealed. Even so, Jiang Lu's situation at the moment was not optimistic. He listened to Jiang Chun's words and rushed to the purity of heaven. Without Jiang Chun's words, he would not retreat. Therefore, even if he was injured, Jiang Lu did not look back. Why is this kid still the same as before? Jiang Chun smiled bitterly, but a cold light flashed in his eyes. He shouted at Jiang Lu, "Come back, boss." Jiang Lu's eyes showed a trace of doubt when he heard that. He said, "The purity of heaven is right in front of me. You want me to come back?" "Come back," Jiang Chun whispered. His expression became extremely calm, but a cluster of flames burned in his eyes. "Why?" Jiang Lu asked, still unwilling to come back. That was because Jiang Lu understood how important the purity of heaven was to Jiang Chun. What Jiang Chun lacked now was cultivation. If his cultivation was improved, Jiang Chun's combat strength would be enough to look down on the bloody path. Therefore, Jiang Lu thought that today, no matter what, he must help his boss obtain the purity of heaven. If I keep asking my younger brother to do it, as the elder brother, I will also feel embarrassed. Jiang Chun smiled and said, forget it. Today I will exercise my shins properly." "Boss?" Jiang Lu frowned. After hearing Jiang Chun's words, he felt that something was wrong. However, Jiang Lu had always been very obedient. At this moment, he retreated and stood on the ground. Jiang Chun, on the other hand, charged upwards. He was like a rock that flapped its wings and seemed to intend to charge through the sky. "Lower heaven realm, do you have the qualifications to compete for the purity of heaven?" Get the hell out of here! In an instant, a few freaks were mocking Jiangchun. Some even raised their hands and pressed down with their palms like a mountain, low-level heaven realm. Jiangchun raised an eyebrow. The corner of his lips curled up, revealing a mocking smile. You must be mistaken. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Jiangchun had already made up his mind and released his cultivation. From the lower heaven realm, he soared all the way to the upper heaven realm. Oh, upper heavenly realm? Someone was surprised, but soon, disdain appeared on his face again. So what? What if you're in the upper heaven realm? You're too weak. Heh. Jiangchun chuckled and did not say a word. In the next moment, Jiangchun punched out. The fist light was like the sun, shattering the palm print. Immediately after, Jiangchun charged again like a purple-gold stream of light. In an instant, he was beside the purity of heaven. He stretched out his palm like a cosmos sack and wanted to take the purity of heaven away. How dare you? You're courting death. At this moment, several angry roars came from all directions, and dozens of extremely violent attacks rushed over. Among them were sword chi, saber light, spells, as well as restrictions and formations. There was even a sharp arrow that was like the fang of a venomous snake that shot towards the center of Jiangchun's brows. Come at me together. Jiangchun raised an eyebrow and said, Today, I'll use the purity of heaven to prove my name. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, everyone heard a violent explosion come from above Jiangchun's head. In the blink of an eye, the originally clear sky turned gloomy and then pitch black. Looking up, a total of 18 tribulation clouds had gathered above Jiangchun's head and transformed into a black mist. It was like the sky had darkened, and this part of the world had lost its color and luster. This is a calamity, heavenly tribulation, 3 calamities and 9 disasters, 18 heavenly tribulations. At this moment, everyone was moved. There were even people who gave up on the purity of heaven and flew rapidly into the distance. Even Xia Juyo and Jiang Chun retreated rapidly, deeply afraid that they would be implicated by Jiangchun's heavenly tribulation. You've cultivated the long-lost Qing Song technique? After retreating far away, Xia Juyo's eyes narrowed as he stared at Jiangchun and said, Where did you get this technique? It's none of your business. Jiangchun curled his lips. Seeing that no one dared to approach him, he easily put away the purity of heaven. The surrounding people were furious. If they were not afraid of Jiangchun's heavenly tribulation, they would not have retreated. However, they also understood how powerful the 18 heavenly tribulations were. They did not go far, but only watched Jiangchun from afar. They were waiting for Jiangchun to be struck to death by the heavenly tribulation, or waiting for Jiangchun to be finished with the heavenly tribulation and be heavily injured before killing him. Boss! Jiang Lu exclaimed. He also knew how terrifying the 3 calamities and 9 disasters were. Even a peerless genius might not be able to survive it. However, Jiangchun only laughed and nodded at Jiang Lu, indicating that he could rest assured. Next, Jiangchun looked at the surrounding people and said mockingly, The purity of heaven is mine. After saying that, Jiangchun swallowed the purity of heaven in front of everyone. In an instant, divine light lingered on Jiangchun's body as if he was ascending. In the sky, golden lotuses were everywhere, and there were even phantoms that looked like divine kings appearing. Golden lotuses everywhere. Heavenly reflection, divine king physique. A peerless phenomenon, a phenomenon that only appears when a peerless genius is born. Everyone was shocked. Those who were enemies of Jiang Chun trembled in their hearts. What did this mean? It meant that after Jiangchun swallowed the purity of heaven, his strength would skyrocket, and he would step into the ranks of peerless geniuses. At that time, there would be very few people in the same generation in this world who could compete with Jiangchun. Boom! At the same time, lightning flashed in the tribulation clouds. There was even wind, rain, thunder, and lightning erupting, seemingly wanting to destroy everything. Jiang Chen stood under the tribulation clouds, his expression indifferent. In reality, he was also nervous to death in his heart. This was the 3 calamities and 9 disasters. Even Jiang Chen did not have the confidence to survive it. Even if he survived it, he would also be heavily injured. At that time, just relying on Jianglu alone, how could he protect him? Since I've made a decision, then I'll fight to the end, Jiang Chen thought to himself. Forming seals with both hands, the aura on his body dissipated. Following that, his entire person fell into nirvana. This was the art of nirvana. Chapter 445. Under the art of nirvana, Jiang Chen's vitality, aura, and even the essence, energy, and spirit in his body completely disappeared. He was like a boulder that would not melt for 10,000 years, allowing the wind and rain to batter him without moving. At this moment, everyone stared at Jiang Chen. Seeing him being struck by the lightning that filled the sky and his vitality dissipated, they mistakenly thought that he was dead. This made many people smile. There were even people who laughed at the sky and said, "Who does Divine King Tianqian think he is? Isn't he still dead?" Ha! Back then, he wasn't born in the same era as you. If he was born in the same era, where would Tianqian come from? Someone said arrogantly. Of course, not everyone thought that Jiang Chen was dead. Zhang Haoren, Xia Juyo, and the rest frowned tightly as they stared at Jiang Chen, who was like a dead person. They seemed to have seen through some clues. How can the heavenly tribulation of the 3 calamities and 9 calamities be something that ordinary people can transcend? Even if Tianqian reincarnated, it's also impossible, someone said disdainfully. However, after half an incense stick's time, many people's expressions already turned ugly. That was because the heavenly tribulation was still present. One had to know that if the person transcending the tribulation died, the heavenly tribulation would naturally disappear as well. But now, the heavenly tribulation was still present. Then it could only mean one thing. Jiang Chen was still alive. However, looking at Jiang Chen's appearance that was akin to a dead person with no life aura on his body, how was this like a living person? Boss, even if you transcended the heavenly tribulation, there are so many people here. How are you going to face them? Jiang Lu sighed. He knew Jiang Chen's methods, and also knew that Jiang Chen was currently transcending the heavenly tribulation with the art of nirvana. However, as he said, so what if he transcended it? The current Jiang Chen was already the target of everyone. After transcending the heavenly tribulation, how could the paragons of the 9th city let him off? At that time, these paragons would definitely attack and suppress and kill Jiang Chen. Even more so, someone would use Jiang Chen's flesh and blood to refine medicinal pills and extract the pure essence of heaven. At the thought of this, a layer of cold sweat involuntarily appeared on Jiang Lu's forehead. How can ordinary people cultivate the Qingsong formula? Someone curled his lips with a look of disdain. Since ancient times, there have not been many people who have cultivated the sky-raising art. However, 8 or 9 out of 10 people who have cultivated the sky-raising art have died from the tribulations. You think you're invincible just because you're the reincarnation of Tianqian? What a joke! Someone chuckled. That being said, everyone's expressions grew uglier and uglier. This was because Jiang Chen's life aura had completely disappeared under the tribulations of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters. However, his aura was growing stronger and stronger. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the heavenly tribulation disappeared. Jiang Chen's aura had broken through to the lower sage level. At the same time, streaks of auspicious signs appeared in the sky. There were long rainbows streaking across the sky, and there were also godly kings descending upon the void. There were also dragons and phoenixes flying about, and there were also golden lotuses growing all over the earth. A beam of profound light descended from the sky, and there was even divine light falling down. It was like a drizzle, and it floated down onto Jiang Chen's body. Wang! At that moment, everyone seemed to have heard the sound of the great Tao, and it was more like someone was chanting an ancient and obscure scripture. He has become a sage. The auspicious signs of heaven and earth appeared at the same time, and divine light fell from the sky. This is the Sage King. Many people exclaimed in surprise, and some of them were very decisive and immediately attacked. However, at that moment, Jiang Chun put away the art of destruction, and his eyes suddenly opened. In his pupils, there was a burst of purplish gold light, and then it turned black and white. It was as if the sun and moon were floating in his eyes, and it was as if the entire universe was contained within them. I become a sage. At that moment, Jiang Chun suddenly stood up, and after saying that, the aura of a sage erupted from his body. Wang! Instantly, everyone felt the void vibrate violently, and the air around Jiang Chun was distorted. Before those who attacked could reach Jiang Chun, they were stunned by the aura of a sage. They were stunned and couldn't move for a moment. What? The aura of a sage can actually stun a Sage King. That's a Sage King. This guy is too powerful. Exclamations were heard one after another, but Jiang Chun was very calm. He gently stretched out his palm and swept it in front of him. Boom! Boom! As several explosions echoed, the few people who had dashed toward Jiang Chun exploded one after another. Their bodies turned into a bloody mist, which dissipated in the air. The competition in the Ninth City has always been the most brutal. Jiang Chun said softly. It said that less than 10% of those who enter the Ninth City can walk out alive. You're destined to die here. Even if you become a Sage King, you won't be able to escape this fate. A disciple of the Holy Light religion shouted angrily, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. After all, a Sage King was at the Sage Realm. However, a Sage King had been crowned by heaven and earth, and with the protection of the Sage Light, his strength was much stronger than an ordinary sage, and he could even fight against a Sage King. However, in the Ninth City, there were countless sages, Sage Kings, and thousands of great sages. No matter how strong Jiang Chun was, he was still weak in front of these people. Today is the day I become a sage, Jiang Chun said softly. Today, I don't want to kill. Start a massacre. Huh? You can't even protect yourself now. Do you think you're invincible after killing a few Sage Kings? Do you know how many great sages are here? How many peerless geniuses are there? Can you handle it? A few disciples of the Dark Shrine mocked. One of the great sages stepped out, and black mist surrounded his body. He pointed at Jiang Chun and said, Today, you'll definitely die. It's time to end this. A great sage stepped out from among the disciples of the Holy Light religion and stood with the disciples of the Dark Shrine. Then the great sages of the Black Wind Mountain, Qilu Manor, Zijin sect, and other major sects stepped out. They looked up and locked their gazes on Jiang Chun. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Everyone, can you give me some face? At this moment, Jiang Haoran stepped out and looked at the group of people. He said seriously, Since I'm here today, I naturally have to do something about this injustice. Yes, I'll do something about it. Xia Juyo saw his teacher step out and naturally followed closely behind. He echoed, That's right. Who do the two of you think you are? Xia Juyo, Jiang Haoran, if you interfere, I'll kill both of you today. A few great sages shouted angrily, hoping to intimidate these two people. After all, these two people were not to be trifled with, especially Xia Juyo, who was the prince of the great Xia dynasty. Teacher, I think we shouldn't do anything, Xia Juyo frowned and said. We're not related to Jiang Chun. There's no need to help him. In this world, reason is the most important thing, Jiang Haoran said seriously. There should be a few people to uphold this word. Chapter 446. Xia Juyo was here to learn from Jiang Haoran. After all, he was going to be the emperor of the great Xia dynasty in the future and had to be reasonable. However, in Xia Juyo's heart, he was unwilling to do so. If not for his father's insistence, how could Xia Juyo follow someone of the same generation and call him teacher? Now, Xia Juyo looked at the situation around him and was unwilling to help Jiang Chun from the bottom of his heart. Just as he said, they were not related, so why should he help? However, Jiang Haoran was so stubborn. Unless he didn't see it, since he saw it, then no matter what, he had to preside over this principle today. Jiang Haoran, you still have that 5 decay of the sky being master to protect you in the outside world. But who can protect you here? Someone said contemptuously, you're very strong, but so what? There are so many of us. How can we be afraid of you? Moreover, we're not weaker than you. Facing these people, Jiang Haoran's expression was still full of righteousness. After coughing a few times, his expression became serious, and he said seriously, today, I'll take care of this matter. Then die first. The great saint from the Holy Light cult shouted angrily. Do you really think you're something? I'll kill you first. Xia Jiyo, I advise you not to interfere. For a moment, a group of people rushed out like tigers and wolves. Their blood was boiling, and their auras were soaring. Jiang Haoran's expression was solemn, but there was no fear in his eyes. In his eyes, there was only so-called justice and fairness. Seeing this, Xia Jiyo lowered his eyes slightly and said coldly, since I call him teacher, then his matter is naturally my matter. This is blood path. It's not the great Xia dynasty. Someone said coldly, so what? Kill them. Xia Jiyo's eyes flashed fiercely. As soon as he finished speaking, a dozen great saints rushed out from the surrounding crowd. These people were all Xia Jiyo's followers. Attack! Kill! At this moment, the great saints from the Holy Light cult, Darkness Shrine, and other sects roared one after another. After that, their followers appeared and entered in a battle with Xia Jiyo's followers. At the same time, Jiang Haoran had already engaged in a fierce battle with those youths. Jiang Chun stood in the air with a hint of helplessness in his eyes. This was his problem, and he didn't want to implicate Jiang Haoran and Xia Jiyo. But if the two of them insisted on running into the wall, there was nothing he could do to stop them. Whoosh! Suddenly, a cold light burst forth from Jiang Chen's back, aiming straight for the back of his head. Jiang Chen's senses were sharp, and he immediately threw a punch behind him. Under this punch, the holy light was as bright as the sun. Blood chi burst out from his body like a blood cloud floating above his head. Boom! With one punch, the cold light was scattered, but Jiang Chen's arm was also slightly stung from the recoil. This surprised Jiang Chun. With his strength and the strength of his body, how could he feel a stinging pain from the rebound? Mu Xingyan. In the next moment, Jiang Chun was relieved. This was because he saw Mu Xingyun's figure gradually materializing in front of him. It's time to end the matter between you and me, right? Mu Xingyun said softly. One couldn't see his emotions, but Jiang Chun could feel that Mu Xingyun's killing intent towards him was very strong. Yes, it's time to end it. Jiang Chun nodded. Since his rebirth, Jiang Chen's first archenemy was Mu Xingyun. Now, after so many years, Jiang Chun was still alive, and so was Mu Xingyun. Moreover, both of them were so strong that there was no difference in strength between them. Now, it was time for this old enemy's battle to begin, and it was time to end it. Jiang Chun, prepare to die. However, before Mu Xingyun could make a move, a supreme sage came over with a long saber in his hand. As soon as he finished speaking, a saber gleam like the Milky Way flew over from afar. It slashed open the void, and the sky changed color. It was as if everything in the world had lost its color in this saber gleam. Even the sun, moon, and stars dimmed. Saber Master? Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed, and he couldn't help but feel angry. This was because the ancestor of the Saber Master, the Saber God, had almost killed Jiang Chun in the divine realm of the 9 heavens. At that time, Jiang Chun hadn't become a divine king yet. He had just ascended. After that, when he was fighting with the 36 overgods, the Saber God had also made a move. With one slash, he had cut off a piece of Jiang Chun's flesh. Buzz! At that moment, Jiang Chun punched out with both fists. His fists shone brightly like divine light, and cryptic runes appeared. His fists were like dragons crossing the sky. With two loud explosions, the saber gleamed shattered. However, in that short moment, Mu Xingyin quietly hid beside Jiang Chen. The pitch-black dagger in his hand directly pierced Jiang Chen's chest. Fortunately, Jiang Chen's physical body was strong. At the critical moment, he summoned the Emperor's Vine. A vine like a sharp sword forced Mu Xingyin to retreat. You should know that I am a dark master. To me, killing a person doesn't make any sense, Mu Xingyin said mockingly. As long as I can kill you, I will do whatever it takes. I know, Jiang Chen said softly. But, are you sure you can kill me today? Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, a holy light burst out from Jiang Chen's body and turned into a purple-gold battle robe. This was a power that only a sage king could possess. It was the holy light protection after being crowned as a sage. Sage King, Mu Xingyin said softly and mockingly. I forgot to tell you. When I became a sage, I was also crowned. Boom! With that, a holy light appeared on Mu Xingyun's body. However, this holy light turned into a golden dagger. At the same time, the great sage of the Saber sect rushed over. He was also covered in a holy light protection. What a gathering of monsters. I didn't expect that I'm not the only one who was crowned as a sage. Jiang Chen sighed. This was indeed a glorious era. If it was in the past, it would be considered a lot if 3 to 5 people were crowned by the heavens when they became saints in an era. However, in this lifetime, including Jiang Chen, there were 3 people who had been crowned as sages in the 9th city alone. Besides, Jiang Chen believed that there must be others who had been crowned as well in the 9th city. I'll kill you. At that instant, the great sage of the Saber sect let out a roar. The saber in his hand emitted a cold glow as he spun around and slashed forward. A saber glow resembling a real dragon roared in Jiang Chen's direction. Jiang Chen did not dare to be careless. He quickly performed a series of hand seals with his left hand, instantly forming a defensive formation. He formed a seal with his right hand. A ray of light tore through the air and headed straight for the great sage of the Saber sect. Boom! The next moment, the saber glow collided with the formation, causing the light screen to shatter. However, Jiang Chen's punch had knocked the great sage of the Saber sect backward. Chapter 447. Shush! A piercing sound could be heard all of a sudden, as Mu Xingyin stabbed at Jiang Chen's throat with a golden dagger in his hand. This attack was like a thunderstorm. Its speed was extremely fast, making it impossible to guard against. However, Jiang Chen reacted quickly. His figure took half a step to the side at the last moment, allowing the golden dagger to pierce through his face, causing blood to splatter. Do you think you can survive today? Mu Xingyin let out a hollow laugh. Although he did not succeed, he was confident that Jiang Chen would surely die today. Die! Meanwhile, the martial sage of the Saber sect dashed forward once again. The saber in his hand penetrated the heavens and earth like a ray of light descending from the heavens. At that instant, the ground of the 9th city began to tremble, accompanied by the roars of wind, thunder, and flames. It was as if the slash could split the heavens and earth in half. If possible, I would rather not use this move. Jiang Chen let out a sigh. He clearly knew that if he did not use his full strength today, he would surely die. However, if he were to use his full strength, Jiang Chen would most likely be the enemy of the entire world. Screw it, I'll just repeat what happened 3,000 years ago. As the saber glow was about to hit Jiang Chen let out a sigh and performed a hand seal with his hands. He raised his head and uttered softly, "Crown me, Buzz." As soon as the words were spoken, a loud buzz could be heard in the sky, followed by a flicker of light as godly rays descended from the sky. Amidst the godly rays, the saber glow was shattered into pieces and vanished into thin air. Following this, under the crowd's astonished gaze, the godly rays and light in the sky formed a crown. The crown slowly descended from the sky and landed on Jiang Chen's head. A crown from the heavens. The emperor? At that instant, the crowd could feel something, causing some to exclaim. Some could feel that the heavens and earth had changed after Jiang Chun put on the crown. Some people even noticed that the providence of the godless continent seemed to have undergone some sort of change. It was as if it had been snatched away by someone. From today onwards, I am the emperor of the godless continent. At this moment, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed as the aura of the emperor emanated from his body. His gaze swept across the crowd like an emperor. The brilliance of the sun and moon floated in his eyes, and his body was suffused with imperial dragon aura. Crowned by the firmament, no divine emperor, you forcefully took away the providence of the entire godless continent. Are you trying to make the world your enemy? If this person doesn't die, the godless continent's providence will never recover. At that time, if we want to become gods, we'll have to get his permission. I can only kill him. Many people rushed over from all directions. Those who originally had no killing intent towards Jiang Chun were now filled with killing intent. Regarding this, Jiang Chun was very indifferent. When he used a secret technique to crown himself as the godless continent's emperor of providence, he already knew that this would happen. However, if he didn't do so, it would be difficult for him to survive today. You're really courting death, Mu Xingyan said coldly. You've already made too many enemies, and now there's a crown from the firmament. In the future, 80 to 90% of the living beings on this godless continent will want your life. It's not like I haven't made an enemy of the world before, Jiang Chen said softly. 3,000 years ago, I dared to make an enemy of the world. 3,000 years later, I still dare to do the same. That was 3,000 years ago, Mu Xingyan said coldly. Now it's 3,000 years later, the world is different. Do you still think you can rule the godless continent? What a joke! Boom! Boom! At this moment, without waiting for Jiang Chen to speak, a series of terrifying attacks fell towards him like a storm. At the same time, some divine weapons came rushing over and slashed open the void. Even the brilliant sun in the sky dimmed because of it. The protection of the holy light and the crown of the firmament. The current me is not someone you can fight against. Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed as he waved his fists, and rays of fist radiance burst out. At the same time, arrays and restrictions appeared around him, and 3 battle spirits and countless undead spirits appeared. At this point, there was no need for Jiang Chun to hide anymore. Today, he would give it his all and fight with the world. Boom! Boom! Explosions sounded continuously. Some people were pushed back by Jiang Chen's fist radiance, and some directly exploded and died. However, there were also a few experts who rushed in front of Jiang Chun. Fist radiance, palm prints, and divine weapons bombarded Jiang Chen's body. There were also terrifying spells that fell, and this part of the world was trembling. However, Jiang Chun was fearless. His body was protected by the holy light. The crown on his head floated up and down, and his body was as hard as a rock, allowing thousands of attacks to fall on his body. Jiang Chun did not move at all. The power of the divine body flowed in his body, and the undying bird Taoist soul appeared. It let out a long cry behind him, and rays of enchanting flames were burning. Surrender to me. At this moment, Jiang Chun roared. He looked arrogant, confident, and proud, as if he had returned to the moment when he was fighting for hegemony on the godless continent 3,000 years ago. So what if the firmament has crowned you? The fate of the godless continent is not something that you can control. Someone shouted angrily, and the bronze spear in his hand broke through the void and instantly bombarded Jiang Chen's body. Buzz! Along with a loud sound, Jiang Chun was shocked to find that the holy light on his body had been shattered by the bronze spear. Moreover, the crown on his head was flickering as if it was going to be extinguished. A spellbreaker? Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows and looked at the person holding the bronze spear with a trace of fear in his eyes. A spellbreaker was also an extremely rare profession. This profession could break many Taoist skills in the world. It could even break the holy light. If a spell breaker was powerful enough, he could even break the firmament's crown. Jiang Chun did not dare to be careless. He focused his gaze and used the distance shrinking technique. His figure was like a ghost, moving horizontally in the air, and in the blink of an eye, he rushed to the front of the spell breaker. Then, Jiang Chun pressed down with his fist. The fist radiance was like a river of stars, and it directly suppressed the spell breaker. However, at the same time, a few dark masters arrived. Their sharp, cold radiances pierced through Jiang Chen's back. There was even a bombardment that penetrated the back of Jiang Chen's head. There was also a terrifying mind energy that pierced Jiang Chen's soul. At that moment, Jiang Chen's soul was in great pain, and he was stunned on the spot as if he had lost his mind. Boom! Boom! While Jiang Chen was absent-minded, numerous attacks fell from the sky once again and engulfed him. Fortunately, Jiang Chen's mind energy was strong enough. After he recovered in time, his body shook and the black and white light burst out. At this moment, black and white swords appeared beside him. Like a sword storm, they dissolved all the attacks that fell from the sky. It's unfair to forcefully seize the fate of the godless continent. At this moment, Jiang Haoran suddenly spoke. His eyes were cold as he stared at Jiang Chun and said, "Return the fate of the godless continent." Chapter 448. Put it back. Putting it back is equivalent to taking my life. Jiang Chun said in a deep voice, "My life. It's under my control. You're messing around?" Jiang Haoran shouted angrily. The fate of the godless continent is related to the fate of all living beings in the world. Seizing the fate by force is equivalent to depriving the creation of all living beings in the world. So what? Everyone wants my life, so why should I give them a way out? Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows and then sighed. Don't interfere in this matter. Since I saw this, I can't sit back and do nothing. Jiang Haoran's expression turned serious as his gaze locked onto Jiang Chun. He asked again, "Are you going to let it go or not?" "No." Jiang Chen's temper rose and he said, "My situation is not something you can understand. Today, I'm not letting it go." "Then don't blame me," Jiang Haoran shouted, and a righteous aura erupted from his body like a layer of clouds. The next moment, he stepped into the air, and the long sword in his hand hummed. This fool! Jiang Chun smiled bitterly and felt even more helpless. He had no enmity with Jiang Haoran. Now that Jiang Haoran had taken action, it was only for the word reason. However, in Jiang Chen's heart, was the word reason really so important? Of course, what made Jiang Chun the most uncomfortable was Jiang Haoran's strength. Although this guy was foolish, he was really strong and had even suppressed Jiang Chun previously. Now, although Jiang Chun was blessed by the holy light and crowned by the heavens, his cultivation had also broken through to the sage realm. However, facing Jiang Chun, he was still a little afraid. The most important thing was that Jiang Haoran had taken action, and so had Xia Juyo. After a few breaths, Jiang Haoran and Xia Juyo rushed over. One of them swung his sword, and the sword light was vast and mighty like a rainbow. There was also a terrifying righteous aura that erupted like a mountain that pressed down on Jiang Chen's body. At the same time, Xia Juyo had already attacked. A palm print shot out like a qilin, and as it roared, it revealed an extraordinary aura. Jiang Chun did not dare to be careless. His body flickered with a mysterious light, and the might of a saint erupted, dispersing the righteous energy. Following that, Jiang Chun held Chasing Heaven and slashed out with desolation, shattering Jiang Haoran's sword beam. In another instant, Jiang Chun raised his hand and struck out with a punch. The glow of his fist was like a bright moon, and it collapsed into pieces upon colliding with Xia Juyo's palm. Puff! While dealing with Xia Juyo and Jiang Chun, a few dark masters had made a move and left several bone-deep wounds on Jiang Chen's body. A sharp arrow tore through the sky and penetrated Jiang Chen's dantian like a thunderous spear. Fortunately, Jiang Chun possessed heavenly star. His dantian shattering was merely a flesh wound to him. However, Jiang Chen's expression turned extremely ugly. This was because there were more and more enemies around him, and there was no lack of monsters who could contend with Jiang Haoran and Xia Jiuyo. If this continued, even if Jiang Chun was crowned by heaven, it would be difficult for him to survive. The sixth holy son of the radiant god cult. Please enlighten me? At this moment, a young man in white with a white jade crown on his head suddenly appeared. After shouting at Jiang Chun, a palm that emitted a holy radiance suppressed Jiang Chun. There are more and more monsters. Even with heaven's crowning, I'm afraid it will be difficult to deal with them. Jiang Chun felt bitter in his heart. His hands danced, and a fist radiance burst forth like a dragon's head. Boom! With an explosion, the fist and palm radiance collided and turned into a divine rain of light that dissipated. At the same time, another dark master appeared in front of Jiang Chun and pointed a sharp needle at Jiang Chen's abdomen. Puff! At this moment, Jiang Chen's body trembled violently, and a piercing pain came from his soul. This was a spiritual attack. It seemed to be able to devour souls. Whoosh! At the same time, a cold light flew over like a meteor from afar. Upon closer inspection, it was a sharp arrow covered in runes. The sharp sword pierced through the air at an extremely fast speed. Before Jiang Chun could react, the sharp sword pierced his shoulder. Blood splattered, and the protective holy light dissipated. However, this was only a flesh wound to Jiang Chun. However, the runes on the arrow had a sealing effect. In just 3 breaths, the power in Jiang Chen's body had been weakened by 1/3. Even the revolving speed of the heavenly stars had slowed down by a great deal. Anti-magic master. Jiang Chen was shocked. He did not expect that several rare professions would appear in the 9th city. Previously, the spellbreaker had been killed by Jiang Chen. Now, another anti-magic master had appeared. As the name suggested, anti-magic masters could seal the power in their opponents' bodies. A powerful anti-magic master could even seal the opponent's soul. Where is she? Jiang Chen narrowed his eyes and looked around. Finally, he saw a green-haired girl on the wall of the 9th city. This person was surrounded by runes, and above his head, there was an obscure mark floating up and down. This person was the anti-magic master. You're courting death. At this moment, Jiang Chen wouldn't show any mercy to a woman. He cursed to himself and exerted the distance shrinking technique. He arrived at the city wall in an instant. However, as soon as Jiang Chen landed on the wall, the green-haired girl suddenly laughed. Before Jiang Chen could react, a series of sealing runes rose from where Jiang Chen was. These runes turned into chains and instantly wrapped around Jiang Chen's body. For a moment, Jiang Chen could feel that half of the power in his body had been sealed. Even his soul was covered in a layer of fog, and he could not summon his Tao soul. The Emperor's vine and the undying birds seemed to be dead. No matter how hard Jiang Chen tried to summon them, he could not summon them. Only the ever-changing heavenly lamp was still burning faintly. However, Jiang Chen did not want to expose the ever-changing heavenly lamp. This was his biggest trump card. Unless it was a matter of life and death, Jiang Chen did not want to expose it. Jiang Chen, you are about to die. The green-haired boy chuckled, and a trace of contempt flashed in his eyes. The reincarnation of Tian Chen Divine King? You're just SOSO. Oh, really? Jiang Chen curled his lips and circulated the remaining power in his body. At the same time, his body shone, and he struck out with his palm. This palm seemed to have endless light that illuminated this part of the world. Even the dazzling sun in the sky became much dimmer under this palm. The great method of light annihilation. Jiang Chen shouted loudly. When his palm fell, the shackles around him were all broken. Following that, the palm's momentum did not decrease. Like a huge white dragon, it bombarded the green-haired girl's body with a divine rain of light. Puff! Instantly, the green-haired girl vomited blood. Her body flew out like a kite with a broken string. However, the moment she flew out, the cryptic rune above her head exploded. Like a fluttering butterfly, it landed in front of Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun had already seen it. He wanted to avoid it, but it was already too late. In an instant, Jiang Chun's expression changed drastically. This was because the cryptic rune contained a terrifying anti-magic power. Chapter 449. The power in your body has been sealed. You're now a cripple. The green-haired young man laughed maniacally after he fell to the ground. She shouted at the people around her. He's already a cripple. Hurry up and kill him. The people around him were very decisive. They dashed towards Jiang Chun one after another in a thunderous manner. Do you really think you can kill me? Jiang Chun roared. Mysterious light erupted from his body, and runes appeared one after another. A ray of light descended from the sky and blessed him. The Great Light Technique, Radiance. At this moment, it could be seen that the confinement seal in front of Jiang Chun was shattered, and Jiang Chun swept his arm over. Many mysterious lights, which were as sharp as swords, were emanating from them. Poof! Poof! In an instant, a series of muffled sounds were heard. Some people screamed and fell down. A few people were directly pierced between their eyebrows by the mysterious swords and died on the spot. Jiang Chun, you'll die here today, no matter what. The sixth holy son of the Holy Light cult roared. His body shone with endless divine light. When he pointed a finger, the sky changed color. Light finger? Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows, and a trace of contempt appeared at the corner of his mouth. It's just the lesser light technique. Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chun also pointed his finger at him. A boundless radiance erupted. Boom! At this moment, the crowd saw a light column as big as a sky-reaching pillar erupting from Jiang Chun's fingertip. It shattered the bright finger of the sixth saint of the divine light cult in an instant. This is the Great Light Technique. Impossible! The Great Light Technique can only be cultivated by the leaders of our cult. How did you cultivate it? The sixth holy son of the Holy Light cult exclaimed. Why are you talking nonsense with a dying man like you? Jiang Chun said contemptuously. He pointed a finger again, and there seemed to be a roaring light dragon at the tip of his finger. Boom! With an ear-piercing sound, the light dragon at the tip of his finger pierced between the sixth holy son's eyebrows and killed him. Jiang Chun, return the providence of the godless continent. I guarantee that you won't die, Jiang Haoran said in a low voice. He had already charged in front of Jiang Chun. Towards this, Jiang Chun was very helpless, and he smiled bitterly. You protected me from death. But what about them? With your strength alone, how can you stop them? Hand over the providence of the godless continent. Even if I die, I will accompany you. This is what Jiang Haoran said. Jiang Haoran said solemnly. However, Jiang Chun shook his head and said, My life is mine. You're so stubborn. Jiang Haoran roared. The righteousness on his face disappeared, and a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Obviously, Jiang Haoran was furious. He held a 7-foot sword in his hand and stepped through the air. Before he even arrived, a sword ray had already slashed down. Jiang Chun swept out with chasing heaven. The sword beam was like a crescent moon, shattering Jiang Haoran's sword beam. However, before Jiang Chun could attack again, 2 sharp rays burst out from his left and right sides, directly piercing through Jiang Chun's temples. At this moment, Jiang Chun's body trembled violently. Blood flowed from his 7 orifices, and the aura on his body plummeted. Even the crown on his head became unstable, as if it was about to be extinguished. Jiang Chun, you're going to die in the end. Mu Xingyun appeared beside Jiang Chun. His expression was cold, and in his hands he held 2 black and gold daggers. If I die, even the heavens won't be enough to be buried with me. Jiang Chun shouted, and the power of his sacred body erupted. The immortal bird Tao soul burned like a furnace. In an instant, Jiang Chun's injuries were healed, and his aura returned to its peak. However, Before Jiang Chun could attack again, the confinement art burst out from afar. Restrictive arrays, restrictive spells, and secret skills were cast. In an instant, Jiang Chen's movements were hindered, and even the power in his body was suppressed. Swoosh! At the same time, Jiang Haoran slashed out with his sword again. Vast sword chi burst out for more than 3,000 miles, as if it was going to slash open the ninth city. Jiang Haoran, if you attack again, don't blame me for being ruthless. Jiang Chun was furious. He didn't want to be enemies with Jiang Haoran, but this idiot had to force him. You're stubborn. I can only enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. Jiang Haoran said solemnly. Stubborn? Enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens? I am the heavens. Jiang Chun shouted angrily. The art of myriad transformations burst out and dissolved all the confinement arts, restrictive spells, and secret skills that had been cast on him. At that moment, Jiang Chun had recovered to his peak. The brilliance of the sun and moon flickered in his eyes. Wherever his gaze passed, an invisible and terrifying mind energy storm appeared. Wherever the mind energy storm passed, everyone was dazed. Their faces turned pale, and some even fainted. There were even a few people with weaker spiritual energy who were directly killed by this spiritual storm. What's going on in the Ninth City? It seems like there's a big battle going on. Since ancient times, the battles in the Ninth City have always been the most intense. It seems like this year is no exception. In the distance, the people in the other ancient cities raised their heads and looked in the direction of the Ninth City. They saw that the sky above the Ninth City had suddenly changed. Thunder and lightning filled the sky. Someone was even shouting, and his voice reverberated across 1,000 miles. At that moment, Jiang Chun held the chasing heaven sword and engaged in a fierce battle with Jiang Haoran. At the same time, Jiang Chen's external incarnation, combat spirits, and undead spirits appeared and stalled many opponents around him. Unfortunately, there were too many people in the Ninth City. There were tens of thousands of them. Now, more than half of the people had come to deal with Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun alone could not stop them. In just half an hour, Jiang Chun was injured again. His body was covered in cracks, and there was a cut between his eyebrows. It was caused by Jiang Haoran. He had almost been killed. There were 5 or 6 bloody holes on his back, with black blood oozing out of them. There was also a broken dagger stuck in one of the bloody holes. Am I really going to die here today? Jiang Chun sighed. Even if the heavens were crowning him, it could not change his fate of death. Buzz! However, at that moment, a loud sound came from the Ninth City. Following that, the array that enveloped the Ninth City disappeared, and the gates of the Ninth City opened. Ha! The heavens have not forsaken me. At that moment, Jiang Chun let out a long roar. The seal of the Ninth City had been lifted, and he could enter and leave at will. Jiang Chun didn't hesitate. He moved like a flowing light and grabbed Jiang Lu. Then he flew out of the Ninth City. As long as he left the Ninth City, Jiang Chun would be free to fly. However, before Jiang Chun could walk out of the Ninth City, Jiang Haoran and Xia Jiuyo appeared in front of him. At the same time, the 8th Holy Sun of the Darkness Shrine and the 5th Holy Sun of the Black Wind Mountain appeared and stood in a row in front of Jiang Chun. Are you forcing me to kill you all? Jiang Chun flew into a rage. Were these people determined to kill him today? Since that was the case, then fight. Boss, you go first. Jiang Lu said in a deep voice. I'll bring up the rear. You go first. Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Jiang Lu hesitated for a moment. When he saw Jiang Chen's determined expression, he nodded and said, Be careful. Chapter 450. Jiang Lu had always been obedient to Jiang Chun, especially when he was in danger. That was because Jiang Lu trusted Jiang Chun. In Jiang Lu's heart, his boss was omnipotent. However, when Jiang Lu was about to leave, the 8th Holy Sun of the Darkness Shrine stopped him and said coldly, Leave your life behind too. Boss, it seems like I can't leave even if I want to. Jiang Lu smiled bitterly. Then let's fight. Jiang Chun narrowed his eyes and said, this kind of trash shouldn't be a match for you, right? Yes. Jiang Lu nodded and looked very simple and honest. However, these words were very harsh to the eighth holy son of the Darkness Shrine. The Darkness Shrine was a sect with a heritage of 10,000 years and had a deep foundation. Although he was only the eighth holy son of the Darkness Shrine, his strength was not something that ordinary people could compete with. In his eyes, Jiang Lu was nothing more than an unknown trash. How could this kind of trash compete with him? What a joke! Boom! However, the moment Jiang Lu attacked, the eighth holy son of the Darkness Shrine was in trouble. Jiang Lu punched out. It was simple and unadorned, and he did not even use spiritual power. With a simple punch, the eighth holy son of the Darkness Shrine was knocked back on the spot. His arm was twisted, and his whole body was trembling. His protective spiritual energy had been shattered, and even his internal organs had been cracked. Boss, this guy is not very strong. Jiang Lu was surprised and said, the eighth holy son is only this strong. Jiang Lu was purely puzzled, but to the eighth holy son of the Darkness Shrine, this was undoubtedly a form of mockery. Kid, you've angered me. The eighth holy son of the Darkness Shrine roared. Black fog surrounded him as if it could devour everything. However, Jiang Lu did not care about this. He rushed out like a primordial bull, and his strong physical body was like a boulder as he crashed into the eighth holy son of the Darkness Shrine. Poof! Immediately, the eighth holy son spat out a mouthful of blood. All the bones in his body were broken, and even his divine soul was knocked out. He was terrified and could not believe that a person's physical body could be so strong. This was simply perverted. Boss told me to leave, but you insisted on me staying. Now, how about it? Jiang Lu curled his lips, lifted the other party with one hand, and then violently threw him to the ground. Bang! Bang! The eighth holy son did not even have a chance to fight back. After a dozen breaths of time, the eighth saint's son was smashed to death by Jiang Lu. Even his body was torn apart, and his divine soul was directly destroyed. Can I go now? After killing the eighth saint of the Darkness Shrine, Jiang Lu looked at Jiang Chun and said, no one is stopping me this time. Jiang Chun laughed bitterly when he heard this. With the combat strength you displayed earlier, who would stop you? What's more, these people's goal was him, Jiang Chun. Jiang Lu was just passing by. He can leave. It doesn't matter. But Jiang Chun must stay. I still stand by my words. Return the godless continent's providence. Everyone stood in front of Jiang Chun, completely ignoring Jiang Lu. This made Jiang Chun heave a sigh of relief. He was afraid that these people would make things difficult for Jiang Lu. Now that Jiang Lu could leave, he was the only one left here. What did he have to fear when he was alone? What else did he have to worry about? He could just let go of his hands and feet and kill. Since you insist on courting death, I can only satisfy you, Jiang Chun said softly. He stood in place, raised his arms slightly, and then formed a seal with both hands. He formed a fist seal. Kill. Die. At this moment, Jiang Haoran and the others rushed over. Their aura was soaring, and their spiritual energy was surging like a tide. In their eyes, Jiang Chun was already a dead man. However, the next moment, the runes around Jiang Chun suddenly disappeared, and even the fist seal disappeared without a trace. Then, Jiang Chun smiled mockingly at the crowd and said, do you really think I will fight to the death with you? Am I that stupid? What? Huh? When everyone heard that, they felt that something was not right. They rushed out rapidly. Their speed was extremely fast, but they were still not faster than Jiang Chun. It was only to see that a teleportation array had appeared under his feet at some point. Following the flash of light, Jiang Chun disappeared from everyone's sight just like that. Damn it, we should have left Jiang Lu behind as a hostage just now. Now that we've released Jiang Lu, this guy has nothing to worry about. He just patted his ass and left. He actually set up a teleportation array in secret. Jiang Haoran and the rest's faces were as black as ink. A large group of Heaven's Prides joined hands to attack. Not only did they fail to keep Jiangchen behind, many people even died. In the future, this battle would probably be laughed at by others. At the same time, everyone also felt the pressure. Jiangchen, who had just become a saint, already had such combat strength. Then when Jiangchen's cultivation was a little higher in the future, wouldn't he really be invincible among his peers? In fact, according to this trend, everyone had a feeling that Jiangchen was very likely to rule the bloody path. We must find him. We can't give him a chance to rise. This is the first small world of the bloody path. It's not very big. Let's split up and search. After a few breaths, everyone finished their discussion and led their respective followers to search for Jiangchen's traces. At this moment, in a forest thousands of miles away from the ninth city, Jiangchen's head was covered in cold sweat. The crown on his head was flickering and finally disappeared after a few breaths. The price is too high. Jiangchen panted heavily. The heaven's coronation took away the godless continent's providence. The price was too high. This was a coronation with one's life. Jiangchen felt it himself. The heaven's coronation took away 3,000 years of his lifespan. An ordinary saint's lifespan was about 3,000 years. The stronger ones could live up to 4,000 to 5,000 years. This time, Jiangchen had lost 3,000 years of his lifespan. This made Jiangchen look a little old. There were even strands of white in his hair. Sigh. Jiangchen let out a long sigh. After the heaven's coronation, his lifespan would continue to be taken away until he died. There were only two ways to increase one's lifespan. The first was to raise one's cultivation level. The second was to find rare treasures to extend one's lifespan. If he could not do both, death would be the only thing that awaited Jiangchen. My lifespan is being taken away all the time, Jiangchen sighed. In just a short while, he felt that his lifespan had been taken away by another 3 years. At this rate, Jiangchen's lifespan would be exhausted in no time. Jiangchen could only continue to look for rare treasures to extend his lifespan and raise his cultivation level until he stepped into the godly state. Only then would he be able to remove the heaven's deprivation of his lifespan. Then Jiangchen went into hiding. He started to regulate his breath and heal his injuries. He was practicing in silence. At the same time, in the first small world of the bloody path, a piece of news spread. Have you heard? Something big happened in the ninth city. Many paragons and monster incarnates joined forces to kill Jiangchen. However, he killed a few of them and even escaped. He's a monster. I heard that even Jiang Haoren and Xia Juyo took action, but they still failed to kill Jiangchen. Chapter 451. On this day, news of Jiangchen's deeds spread everywhere in the first small world of the blood path. Jiangchen had truly become famous after the battle of the ninth city. Although Jiangchen escaped in the end, not only did he survive against so many paragons, he even killed a few of them. Was that something that an ordinary person could achieve? Jiangchen knew nothing about the rumors in the outside world. At that moment, his head was covered in cold sweat, and he could feel his lifespan decreasing. If this continued, he would die from his lifespan depletion before anyone else could do anything. For a cultivator, this was definitely the most aggrieved way to die. No, if I continue cultivating like this, I'll die before I can raise my cultivation. Jiangchen thought to himself, and stood up immediately to wander around the forest. There were many treasures in the small worlds of the blood path, and there was no lack of items that could extend one's lifespan. Those items were the most important to Jiangchen. In the vast forest, there were no sounds of insects or beasts. It was completely silent. Jiangchen was walking alone in the forest. His gaze was fixed on every corner of the forest. At the same time, his lifespan was decreasing continuously. Right now, he was left with less than 1,000 years. 1,000 years of lifespan was a lot for an ordinary person. However, it was too little for Jiangchen. His lifespan was decreasing by the second, and he would lose at least 3 years of lifespan in the time it took for an incense stick to burn. At this rate, Jiang Qin was not far from death. Haven't you thought about the consequences of being crowned as the emperor of the godless mainland by the heavens? The Vermilion Bird King laid lazily in Jiang Qin's spirit world and said casually, "The heavens are willing to crown you, but they will also take away some things from you. As the saying goes, there are gains and losses. It's karma." "I know," Jiang Qin sighed. "But what can I do? You saw it in the ninth city as well. If the heavens don't crown me, I won't be able to survive given my strength." "What about now?" The Vermilion Bird King teased. "Given the speed at which your lifespan is decreasing, how many treasures do you have to consume to replenish it?" "Then what can I do?" Jiang Chun said snappily. "If I wasn't forced to that extent, do you think I would use a secret technique like Heaven's Crown? I have something to discuss with you." Right at this moment, the Vermilion Bird King's voice became a little strange as he asked in a probing manner, "I'll help you resolve the issue of your lifespan, and you'll help me find a host so I can come out? Let you out?" Jiang Qin's face darkened. The Vermilion Bird King wasn't a good person. If he were to come out, wouldn't he cause a huge ruckus? Besides, the Vermilion Bird King had once been struck down by the heavens, so it was a forbidden legacy in the first place. If he were to come out into the world and be sensed by the heavens, he would definitely die. "Don't worry, I've turned over a new leaf. After I reappear, I won't cause any more trouble." The Vermilion Bird King slapped his chest and promised. However, Jiang Chun did not believe it. This guy, back then in the Nine Heavens divine realm, he was a disaster in all directions. The chief gods and even the God Kings couldn't do anything to him. If the heavens hadn't intervened in the end, the Vermilion Bird King would have destroyed the entire Nine Heavens divine realm. Think about it slowly. The Vermilion Bird King saw that Jiang Qin wasn't willing to agree and didn't force him. He only reminded him, "Take care of your lifespan. Don't die mysteriously when the time comes." Jiang Qin ignored the Vermilion Bird King, but he was worried in his heart. If he died in battle, then it was because he wasn't strong enough. Dying was also a matter of course. However, the dignified God King Tian Chan had just been reborn not long ago, and his lifespan was going to dry up and die. This wouldn't do, right? That was too much. "Little brat, stop right there." Suddenly, an angry roar came from afar. Then, a little girl ran towards Jiang Chun with a face full of panic. Behind her was a young man in blue robes. He held a long flute in his hand, and his face was full of murderous intent. "Jiang Yueli?" Jiang Chen's expression froze. Without another word, he rushed over. That was because Jiang Yueli was the reincarnation of the moon goddess. Back then, the reason why Jiang Chun could survive and reincarnate was because the moon goddess burned her Tao soul to light up Jiang Chen's ever-changing heavenly lamp. Moreover, back in the Nine Heavens divine realm, Jiang Chun and the moon goddess had an inexplicable relationship. "Jiang Chun?" At that moment, the young man in blue's expression changed. When he saw Jiang Chun, he recognized him at a glance. "You want to kill her?" Jiang Chun said in a low voice. "She stole my things," the young man in blue said in a low voice. "This has nothing to do with you." Jiang Chun said softly, but in the next moment he raised his palm. The light of the sun and moon burst forth from his palm, and a barren sword intent appeared. Boom! Under the palm, it was as if a mountain had collapsed. Under the bombardment of the palm print, the young man in blue did not even have the chance to resist, and was killed on the spot. "You can kill me, but to kill her? Heh, I don't care what reason you have." Jiang Chun thought to himself. Jiang Chun could ignore his own life and give up on everyone in the world, but for Jiang Yueli, Jiang Chun had to protect her. That was his reverse scale. "Little brother, we meet again." At that moment, Jiang Yueli's soul was still unsettled, and her eyes were still filled with fear. But she still thanked Jiang Chun, and her memory was quite good. She remembered Jiang Chun very well. "Why are you alone?" Jiang Chun frowned. As the little princess of the Jiang family, Jiang Yueli's talent was extremely high. Logically speaking, even if she entered the bloody path, there would be followers protecting her. "They're all dead." When Jiang Yueli mentioned this matter, Her eyes turned red. Her long eyelashes fluttered a few times, and tears fell like raindrops. For some reason, Jiang Chen knew that Jiang Yueli was not sad for him, but Jiang Chen's heart could not help but twitch. "From now on, I'll protect you," Jiang Chen said softly, stroking Jiang Yueli's little head, and said, "Don't be afraid. Little brother, your cultivation is so low," Jiang Yueli said directly, not giving Jiang Chen any face. Jiang Chen was stunned when he heard that, and his face turned red. Needless to say, in this bloody path, the lower sage was considered the lowest. This Jiang Yueli's cultivation had already reached the upper level of Saint King. Am I being despised?" Jiang Chen smiled bitterly in his heart, but still said solemnly, "Cultivation is not everything." "Oh, that's right. Little brother, I'll bring you to a good place." After all, Jiang Yueli was young, and in a short while, she threw the previous matter to the back of her mind. Then, without waiting for Jiang Chen to speak, Jiang Yueli pulled Jiang Chen's hand and ran forward. Holding hands with Jiang Yueli, Jiang Chen's heart palpitated. Looking at the innocent little girl in front of him, Jiang Chen was in a daze, as if he had returned to the ninth heaven divine world, in those days when he was with the moon goddess. "Sigh, Sin, she's still young," Jiang Chen said to himself. Jiang Chen found it difficult to connect the little girl in front of him with the moon goddess. Moreover, the reincarnation of the moon goddess seemed to have some problems, and her memories had disappeared. Now, the relationship between the two of them was just a familiar stranger. Chapter 452. Little brother, that bad guy from before wanted a stalk of vermilion bird grass from me. Jiang Yueli puffed up her cheeks and said angrily, "I already promised to give him one stalk, but he insisted on taking it all. It's so infuriating." "Oh, vermilion bird grass?" Jiang Chen's heart skipped a beat. According to legend, vermilion bird grass was born from the blood of the vermilion bird and nourished by the heavens. It was a sacred medicine for healing injuries and prolonging life. This medicine was undoubtedly the most useful for Jiang Chen. "I only took 2 stalks, there are still many more over there," Jiang Yueli said. After a dozen breaths, she brought Jiang Chen to the center of the forest. Looking around, there was a pile of rocks in front of them, filled with a rotten smell. However, on top of these rocks, there was a crimson stalk of grass that looked like a small vermilion bird. Roughly speaking, there were more than 30 stalks of vermilion bird grass in this pile of rocks. So many? Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. Vermilion bird grass was a rare treasure. Even if one saw it, there would only be 1 stalk at most. But now, there were more than 30 stalks growing on the ground. This didn't make sense. The vermilion bird king roared in Jiang Chen's soul. He was almost going crazy, because he knew one thing. There was only one possibility for so many vermilion bird grass to grow in one place. There was a pure-blooded vermilion bird buried here, and this vermilion bird's rank was not below his. "Kid, why do you care about the vermilion bird grass in front of you?" The vermilion bird king roared. "You really don't know. Hurry up and dig." "Digs?" Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. Did the vermilion bird grass need to be dug? "There's a vermilion bird buried here. Its value is much higher than these vermilion bird grass," the vermilion bird king said with a look of disappointment. "What are you doing? If there's really a vermilion bird down there, you only need a few drops of blood to prolong your life. At least 10,000 years. "What?" Jiang Chen was excited. If he could prolong his life for 10,000 years, then he could temporarily solve the matter of the heavens coronation. However, he couldn't let the vermilion bird grass go to waste. "Little big brother, you saved my life just now. These vermilion bird grass are all yours," Jiang Yueli said. "Let's split it equally," Jiang Chen said. He didn't want to take advantage of her. Jiang Yueli didn't have any objections. To be precise, she didn't care about these things. After all, she was the little princess of the Jiang family and was doted on by her family. She could have whatever she wanted. A mere vermilion bird grass was nothing but a novelty to her. Once the novelty was over, he naturally lost interest. Then, the two of them divided the vermilion bird grass equally. Jiang Chun then took out Chasing Heaven, used it as a hoe, and started digging. "Little brother, what are you doing?" Jiang Yuli asked curiously. "Digging," Jiang Chun said. "With Chasing Heaven as a hoe? What couldn't he dig?" But when Chasing Heaven slashed onto these rocks, it actually produced clusters of sparks. Even the ground here was as solid as a boulder. "Brat, we're rich," the Vermilion Bird King exclaimed. "There must be an ancient vermilion bird buried here. Its rank is no lower than mine." "How can you be so sure?" Jiangchen asked doubtfully. "It was just a guess before, but now I'm sure," the Vermilion Bird King said seriously. "There's a problem with so many vermilion bird grass growing in one place. Now the ground here is as solid as a boulder. This is because it has been nourished by the vermilion bird's blood essence for many years and is about to turn into vermilion bird immortal gold." Vermilion bird immortal gold? Jiang Chen was moved. That was the legendary material used to forge supreme weapons. Once in the ninth heaven divine realm, a thumb-sized piece of vermilion bird immortal gold set off a bloody storm. Now such a large piece of land, if there really was vermilion bird immortal gold, it must be very big. As he thought about this, Jiang Chen worked harder and harder. He used all of his means, including tactical formations and restraints. He was sweating profusely like a villager, plowing here. A few hours later, Jiang Chun was almost exhausted, but he had only dug 3 yards into the ground. Ding dong! All of a sudden, Jiang Chun pulled a long face. This was because when Chasing the Sky in his hand dug down, it hit a blood-red stone. In the end, with a ding-dong, Chasing the Sky broke. "What the F***, CK? My weapon!" Jiang Chun was furious. This was his weapon from his previous life, a divine king's weapon. This weapon was not invincible, but it would not break easily. Now it was broken by a stone. "My weapon is so weak." Jiang Chun was dumbfounded. He could not believe that the divine king's weapon broke just like that. "I'm rich." The Vermilion Bird King was excited. He flew out from Jiang Chen's soul and stared at the blood-red stone. "Vermilion Bird, immortal gold. This is the Vermilion Bird immortal gold?" Jiang Chen frowned. He felt that this stone was different in color, but there was nothing special about it. "It's not the real Vermilion Bird immortal gold," the Vermilion Bird King said. "It can only be considered a piece of fake Vermilion Bird immortal gold. The real Vermilion Bird immortal gold should still be below." "Below?" Jiang Chen's face darkened. He looked at the broken Chasing the Sky and smiled bitterly. "How do I dig? With my hands? Kid, you don't want the Vermilion Bird immortal gold? You don't want the ancient Vermilion Bird's blood essence?" The Vermilion Bird King tempted. "With the Vermilion Bird immortal gold, Chasing the Sky can be reforged and its power will be much stronger than before. Also, if you get the Vermilion Bird's blood essence, why are you worried about your lifespan? Just drink a few drops and it will be enough for you to live for hundreds of thousands of years. But it's tiring." Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. Although his physical strength was not weaker than Chasing the Sky, using his hands to dig, this did not fit his status as a divine king. But for the Vermilion Bird immortal gold and blood essence, Jiang Chun did not care so much. At this moment, the power of extreme yin appeared on Jiang Chen's left hand, and the power of extreme yang erupted on his right hand. He even used the art of 10,000 transformations. Then, Jiang Chen's hands fell straight down, like 2 sharp swords, and stabbed into the blood-red stone. The power of yin and yang erupted like a tai chi under the circulation of the energy. The blood-red stone quickly shattered. Then, the art of 10,000 transformations was like a stream of light, piercing into the stone below and turning it into nothingness. "Kid, do your best." The Vermilion Bird King was excited. He flapped his wings and said, "If there really is a vermilion bird buried below, it can be my body. Then I can return." "What are you shouting about?" Jiang Chen said unhappily. Although his physical body was strong, he still felt a sharp pain in his hands at this moment. This damn place was simply a huge boulder. Little brother, do you need my help? Zhang Yueli blinked her beautiful eyes and asked curiously, What are you digging for? No, I could do it myself. Jiang Chen said, You can rest at the side. Oh! Zhang Yueli nodded obediently. Then, she sat to the side in boredom. Chapter 453. Jiang Chen continued to dig. He even rested a few times. He was too tired. It wasn't physical tiredness, but mental tiredness. After digging down for nearly 100 meters, they couldn't see anything other than rocks that were as hard as a rock. Jiang Chen even suspected that the Vermilion Bird King was lying to him. How deep is it buried? Jiang Chen asked. Soon, the Vermilion Bird King was very excited. He stared at the 100-meter deep pit and said, I can already feel its aura. Oh! Jiang Chen was also excited. Jiang Chen continued to dig. He used all kinds of methods, including the 10,000 transformations technique. Boom! Finally, after the time it would take for half an incense stick to burn, a rock underneath was dug out, and Jiang Chen saw an underground cave. Looking down, it was a sea of red, and there was even a blazing aura coming from below. Jiang Chen even saw patches of vermilion bird grass in the cave. There were at least 1,000 of them. I'm rich. Jiang Chen was excited. Vermilion bird grass was extremely rare. Any one of them could be exchanged for many treasures. If he planted all of them in Xuanzuan's sect. I'm really rich this time. Jiang Chen said. Vermilion bird grass is nothing. Hurry up and go down. The Vermilion Bird King urged. Bury that ancient vermilion bird down there. Jiang Chen didn't say anything more when he heard her. He jumped up and jumped into it. The cave was not big. It was only the size of a football field. However, it was filled with fire-based energy. It was extremely hot. Even though Jiang Chen's body was strong, he could still feel a burning pain on his skin. I can finally be reborn. At that moment, the Vermilion Bird King let out a long cry. He moved like a ray of light and arrived at the center of the cave. Upon closer inspection, there was a crimson divine bird that looked like an immortal bird. This is also a vermilion bird? Jiang Chen was stunned. No matter how he looked at it, it didn't look like one. At the very least, this vermilion bird was nothing like the Vermilion Bird King. What do you know? This is the ancestor of my Vermilion Bird clan. The Vermilion Bird King snapped. I'm a second-generation primogenitor, but this guy is a first-generation primogenitor. When Jiang Chen heard this, he couldn't help but become excited. He hurriedly ran over and asked, Is there any blood essence? Of course. Furthermore, this corpse is well preserved. The Vermilion Bird King's eyes flashed. As long as I obtain this body, I will become the first vermilion bird ancestor. A few drops of blood essence first. Jiang Chen's eyes were filled with stars. His lifespan had decreased too much, and his body was becoming weaker and weaker. However, the Vermilion Bird King shook his head and said, I'll occupy this corpse first, then activate the essence, energy, and spirit within this corpse to revive its blood essence. Only then will you be able to obtain its blood essence. Then what are you waiting for? Jiang Chen urged. I'm about to die. Wang. As soon as he finished speaking, the Vermilion Bird King turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the corpse. Half an hour later, flames suddenly erupted from the corpse, and life force began to appear. It's done? Jiang Chen stared at the corpse expectantly. Ant. Kneel before the ancestor of the Vermilion Bird clan. Suddenly, the corpse stood up and spread its wings like a koan prong, covering the entire underground cavern. Jiang Chen was taken aback. Did this corpse come to life? However, when he saw the vermilion bird's slightly raised lips, Jiang Chen's face darkened, and he threw a punch. You liar! TSK, don't hit me! The Vermilion Bird King's voice could be heard. He had already occupied this corpse, and from today onwards, he would have a physical body. He rubbed his head and said bitterly, I haven't completely merged with this body yet, so it's still very weak. Don't break it. With that, the vermilion bird king flapped his wings, and 3 drops of essence blood fell in front of Jiangchun. This body has just awakened, so there's only so much essence blood left. The vermilion bird king said, "Take it to prolong your life. As long as I'm still alive, I'll have plenty of vermilion bird essence blood." Phew! Jiangchun breathed a sigh of relief and swallowed the 3 drops of essence blood. Instantly, Jiangchun's aura skyrocketed, and life force gushed out of his body like a fountain. Jiangchun's lifespan increased sharply, and in just several breaths' time, his lifespan increased to 13,000 years. In fact, it was still increasing slowly. "I'm finally safe," Jiangchun said with a bitter smile. He still had a lingering fear. If he hadn't met an ancient vermilion bird here and obtained its essence blood, Jiangchun probably wouldn't have been able to hold on. "Kid, remember to call me the first ancestor of the vermilion bird clan." The vermilion bird king raised his chin and said proudly, "The old vermilion bird king is no longer here. From now on, I am the first ancestor of the vermilion bird clan." "Forget it," Jiangchun spoke in mockery. "You are still the second first ancestor, even though you have changed your mind. Bullsh asterisk T. Once I completely merge with this body, I will completely transform and become the first ancestor." The vermilion bird king raised an eyebrow before frowning with a conflicted expression. "It's about time I gave myself a name. After all, I'm going to be the first ancestor of the vermilion bird tribe from now on. I should have a famous name. I'm good at naming." Jiangchun said seriously, "I have a primordial ancestor dragon with me. Why don't I have the same name as him?" "Oh, the first ancestor dragon?" The vermilion bird king nodded. "Having the same name as the first ancestor dragon does suit my status." Jiangchun nodded. He used the contract and pointed at the vermilion bird king. "Today, I name you Bird Dade." The vermilion bird king was dumbfounded. "Bird Dade? Well, what kind of name was that?" "That ancestor dragon's name is Long Dade. From now on, you will be called Bird Dade." "Very good," Jiangchun said seriously, but the slight smile on his face betrayed Jiangchun. "Are you laughing?" Bird Dade glared at him. "Hurry up. Change it." "I'm not changing it. It's pretty good." Jiangchun smiled. He did not use the contract to change Bird Dade's name. At that moment, Bird Dade broke down. The first ancestor of the vermilion bird clan was called this name. So embarrassing. "Let me tell you, from now on, you and Long Dade will travel the world together. One Long Dade, one Bird Dade, one Dragon Dade. It's perfect. You will be remembered by the world. You will even be recorded in history books," said Jiangchun. When Niao Dade heard this, he was stunned for a moment. He subconsciously nodded and muttered, "That makes sense. All right, after I take these vermilion bird grass, we will leave this place," Jiangchun said. "Zhang Yue is still waiting for us outside. That little girl is not bad looking. I can tell that she is a beauty. She is worthy of me," Bird Dade said. He had just been born, but his nature was revealed. Jiangchun heard this, and his eyebrows twitched. A murderous aura exploded from his body. He stared at Bird Dade and said coldly, "If you dare to have any ideas about her, do you believe that I will stew you alive?" Chapter 454. Zhang Yue was Jiangchun's Achilles heel. Anyone who dared to touch her would be asking for Jiangchun's life. Hearing this, Bird Dade shrunk its neck and hurriedly shook its head. It giggled and said, "I was just joking. I'm not interested in that little Lolita." "That better be the case," Jiangchun said coldly. Then Jiangchun kept the vermilion bird grass, and the man and bird returned to the surface. Of course, Bird Dade's appearance was too conspicuous. Before returning to the surface, it transformed into a graceful gentleman. However, the wretched expression in his eyes was still present. "Are all the people who were protecting you dead?" Jiangchun came to Zhang Yueli's side and asked gently. "There were 10 of them in total, but 9 of them came with me and entered the first city." Then, Zhang Yueli felt more aggrieved as she spoke. Tears rolled down her cheeks, and she looked as if she was about to cry. Jiang Chun hurriedly comforted her when he saw this. "Don't be afraid. I'll take care of this blood path from now on." Sweetie. Jiang Yueli was still young after all. The tears in her eyes instantly disappeared, and she grabbed Jiang Chen's hand. "Sweetie, where are you bringing me to play?" "This?" Jiang Chun did not know what to say for a moment. What was so fun about this blood path? What else could there be other than fighting and killing? At the same time, Jiang Chun was also considering the danger he was in. If he brought Jiang Yueli along, what would he do if she was implicated? Jiang Chen's expression turned ugly as he thought of this. He was not afraid of his own safety, but he was worried about Jiang Yueli's safety. 9 of the 10 people are dead. Where's the last one? Jiang Chen asked. "The last one is in the 9th city. Jiang Yueli said. "His name is Xia Juyo. He's my fiancé." Fiancé. 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 Jiang Chun was anxious. She already has a fiancé at such a young age. Furthermore, this fiancé had previously chased after him along with those elites. Damn it, how could he tolerate this? Besides, Jiang Yueli was a moon deity. Jiang Chun could not agree to this. Your fiancé is ugly and has a bad character. Most importantly, he's a piece of trash. Jiang Chun said seriously, marriage is a big thing. You still don't understand. Wait until you grow up. Oh. Jiang Yueli nodded as if she understood. She then asked curiously, is he ugly? As soon as he said this, Jiang Chun was quite confident. He flicked his long hair and said, at least he's not as handsome as me. Ah? Uglier than you? Jiang Yueli's face was filled with disappointment. She pouted and said in an aggrieved manner, the thought of marrying a man uglier than you makes my heart ache. When Jiang Chun heard this, he had a strange expression on his face. He felt much worse than Jiang Yueli. He was ugly. Please, I am the representative of the gods of the 9th heaven divine world. If I were to say that I was ugly, then all the men in the world would be ugly monsters. However, Jiang Chun did not blame Jiang Yueli. After all, she was still young and did not know anything. This is the first small world on the Blood Road. There are still many places that we haven't been to. Jiang Chun said softly, I'll take you to the Rune Land. The scenery there is very beautiful. Ah, really? Jiang Yueli looked excited and said, then let's go quickly. Let's go. Jiang Chun said with a smile. Then, 2 people and a bird rose into the air and flew towards the Rune Land in the first small world on the Blood Road. That place could be said to be one of the more lively places in the first small world. Array masters, restriction masters, rune masters, and so on, these professions would all go there. It was because the runes there were extraordinary. Each rune contained some kind of true meaning. If one could comprehend it, it would be very useful. There were even people who had comprehended a kind of peerless killing array in the Rune Land. Its power was so great that it was enough to make the gods of the 9th heaven fear it. Along the way, Bird Dade was very excited and muttered, I have been born. From now on, I have the final say in this world. Of course, after saying this, Bird Dade looked weakly at Jiang Chun and added, except for him. After half an incense stick's time, Jiang Chun and the other 2 arrived at the Rune Land. Now, the Blood Road had just been opened, so there were not many people in the Rune Land. However, when Jiang Chun arrived, a trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. That was because he saw the disciples of the Holy Light Cult, Dark Shrine, Black Wind Mountain, and Zijin sect there. And they also saw Jiang Chun. Are you here to die? The disciple of Zijin's sect said coldly, as if he was about to attack. However, other than him, the others were very obedient. Some even stood up and turned to leave. That was because Jiang Chun had become famous in the 9th city in one battle. His combat strength was terrifying. Facing so many geniuses, he could retreat safely. Now, there were only a few of them here. Who dared to challenge Jiang Chun? That disciple of Zijin's sect was stupid. At this moment, he actually dared to challenge Jiang Chun. Get lost! Jiang Chun narrowed his eyes and roared. The light of the sun and moon seemed to burst out from his mouth. A terrifying mental strength was spat out. Like a storm, it drowned the young man of Zijin's sect. Puff! In an instant, the young man of Zijin's sect spat out blood. His body cracked and finally, his physical body exploded, leaving behind only a naked spiritual soul. At this moment, the young man of Zijin's sect finally reacted. With fear in his spiritual soul, he escaped into the void, turned around, and ran. And all of this was just a small episode for Jiang Chun. After he brought Jiang Yueli to the rune land, he did not comprehend any runes. Instead, he leisurely strolled around. Look, doesn't this rune look like an immemorial bowl? Look, doesn't this rune look like a red spider lily? The runes here are so beautiful. Jiang Yueli's eyes were twinkling. But I still like the moon. You like the moon? Jiang Chen's eyes flashed with sadness when he heard this. There was also a trace of pain. Yes, you were once the moon goddess. Of course you like the moon. But you burned yourself for me and lit up the ever-changing heavenly lamp for me. Do you want to see the moon? At this moment, Jiang Chen's eyes flashed, and he said seriously. Yes. Jiang Yueli nodded seriously. When I was outside, I liked to look at the moon every day. But in this bloody path, there is only day and no night. I can't see the moon. There is the moon, Jiang Chen said seriously. As soon as Jiang Chen finished speaking, he made a mudra with his hands. His mind power broke out. Like a tornado, it shrouded the land of runes. Then the sky changed color. The runes on the entire rune land exploded, twisted, and merged. After half an incense stick of time, Jiang Chen used all his methods to steal the sky and change the sun. He turned the entire rune land into a black sky. Then, the runes on the rune land rose and turned into a bright moon that hung high in the sky. Chapter 455. Destroying the runes, stealing the sky, and changing the sun, all for the sake of that bright moon hanging high in the sky. At this moment, Jiang Yueli blinked her beautiful eyes and looked at the bright moon in the sky with a smile on her face. Jiang Chun was the same. He was the happiest when he saw Jiang Yueli smile. However, the faces of the others in the runic field darkened. Some people even cursed. You destroyed the runic field? When Jiang Chun heard this, he ignored them. Instead, he looked at Jiang Yueli and asked, "Does it look good?" Jiang Yueli nodded and pointed at the bright moon in the sky. "It's so beautiful. It's good that you like it," Jiang Chun said with a smile. "Kid, you destroyed the runic field. What should we do?" An array master shouted angrily. The runes here had all disappeared and would not appear again for a short period of time. In this way, wouldn't it be a waste of time for them, rune masters and array masters, to come here? Most importantly, with the runic field gone, these rune masters and array masters had lost a fortune. Originally, they could more or less comprehend some of the runes and even understand the profoundness within them, thus increasing their cultivation base. But now, with Jiang Chen's actions, this place was equivalent to a wasteland. Looking around, there was not a single rune to be seen. Is it worth it for you to do this in order to win a smile from a beauty? Bird Dade stood at the side and frowned. You're in a bad situation right now. Aren't you afraid of attracting enemies? What would I be afraid of now? Jiang Chun said indifferently. From the moment the heavens were crowned, I became enemies with the world. What do I have to be afraid of? What you said seems to make sense. Bird Dade nodded. However, Bird Dade was also feeling weak in his heart. Being enemies with the entire world was not a joke. This person wanted to fight against the entire world. Could he do it? He probably wouldn't even be able to walk to the end of this bloody path alive. The coronation of the heavens and the stripping of the godless continent's destiny is a great sin. Now, you've destroyed the runic field. Your death sentence is unavoidable. At that moment, Zhang Haoran flew over from afar. His expression was righteous, and a trace of anger flashed in his eyes. I say, idiot, can you stop pestering me? Jiang Chun said snappily, There are many unfair things in this world. Why must you point it at me? Because I saw it, Jiang Haoran said solemnly. There are many unfair things in the world, but I didn't see it, so I can't do anything about it. But since I've seen what happened to you, I have to take care of it. Otherwise, how can I live up to the name of Haoran? What a one-track mind. Jiang Chen curled his lip and said, in the ninth city, there were so many of you, yet you still couldn't deal with me. So, what can you do to me now? Previously, I didn't kill you because I thought you still had a chance to save yourself, Jiang Haoran said. But now, you're making mistakes again and again. I won't let you off easily. Of Haoran, do you mean that you're going to kill me today? Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows. He was helpless against Jiang Haoran. This guy had no enmity with him. He was only attacking him to uphold the so-called fairness and reason. There are no grudges between us. Are you forcing me? Jiang Chen asked. The enmity in the world starts from nothing. Today's enmity is there, Jiang Haoran said. Jiang Chen's eyes flashed coldly when he heard that. To be honest, he didn't want to become enemies with Jiang Haoran. But now, it seemed that no matter what Jiang Chen said, Jiang Haoran wouldn't let it go. Since things had come to this, he could only take action. Jiang Yueli, why are you with him? At that moment, Xia Juyo, who came with Jiang Haoran, had a gloomy face. He was engaged to Jiang Yueli. How do you know my name? Jiang Yueli asked curiously. He's your fiancé, Xia Juyo, Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. After saying the word fiancé, he was very unhappy. It's really like what you said. He's really ugly, Jiang Yueli said seriously. Poof! Jiang Chen immediately laughed when he heard that. He stroked Jiang Yueli's head and said, So, you can't marry him. He's too ugly. When I grow up, I don't want to marry him, Jiang Yueli nodded. Xia Juyo's face was extremely gloomy. He stared at Jiang Chun and thought to himself, what is this guy doing here? Breaking up the marriage. I'm the prince of the great Xia dynasty, and she is the little princess of the Jiang family. In the future, she will be the empress of the great Xia dynasty. Xia Juyo said coldly, Stay away from her. It's none of your business. Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows and said angrily, What's the use of carrying the name of the prince of the great Xia dynasty all day long? This is the bloody path. How many people do you think will be afraid of your identity? Presumptuous, Xia Jiyo shouted angrily with a royal aura. However, to Jiang Chun, this royal aura was nothing. Godly King Tian Chun was from the continent of the Nine Clouds. How could he be afraid of the crown prince? Bird Dade, go and teach him a lesson. Let him know that he can't touch your brother's woman. He can't even think about it. Jiang Chen said to Bird Dade, I haven't fought for a long time. Today is a good day to exercise my legs. Bird Dade was excited. He had just obtained a physical body and recovered a lot of his strength. He was itching for a fight. Just then, Bird Dade dashed out. Beside him, flames roared and a long shriek came out of his mouth. In the next moment, several brilliant suns appeared in the sky, and there were even blazing flames burning in the air like cold rays of light. At a closer look, they were vermilion bird feathers that had turned into flaming swords. Listen up. I'm Bird Dade. I'm destined to be the emperor of all birds in the world. Bird Dade was arrogant. He waved his hand, and the suns fell. The flaming swords were like a rainstorm, covering the sky and covering the earth as they flew towards Xia Juyo. Who do you think you are? Xia Juyo's face was ugly and his heart was burning with anger. He was already in a bad mood because of the matter between Jiang Chun and Jiang Yueli. Now, Bird Dade had appeared. As the prince of the great Xia dynasty, Xia Juyo's temper wasn't good. He couldn't tolerate it. Boom! In the next moment, Xia Juyo attacked. A few rays of fist radiance burst out and shot up into the sky like a golden mist. The blazing swords that filled the sky were shattered, but the few sun-like objects broke through the mist and landed in front of Xia Juyo. Huh? Xia Juyo was shocked and thought that he had underestimated his opponent. However, there wasn't any fear in his eyes. Six-Path Divine Fist. Xia Juyo let out a long cry, and threw out 6 rays of fist radiance. The rays of fist radiance were like stars, and they emitted faint 6-path chi. Jiang Chun was surprised. He thought to himself, is this the 6 realms of reincarnation fist? However, it was very different from the 6-path reincarnation fist. At least in terms of power, it was much weaker. However, this martial skill, compared to ordinary martial skills, could be considered very strong. Boom! Boom! At this moment, explosions rang out continuously in the sky. The 6 realms' divine fist struck out, shattering those sun-like objects into powder. Chapter 456. The Ultimate Skill of the Great Xia Dynasty. 6 Paths Divine Fist. It's so powerful that ordinary martial skills can't be compared to it. All around, many people cried out in surprise. They were lucky enough to witness this legendary martial skill. Oh, this 6 Paths Divine Fist is quite famous? Jiang Chun thought to himself. He felt that the power of this martial skill was just SOSO. Compared to the real 6 Paths of Reincarnation Fist, this 6 Paths Divine Fist was like scratching an itch. I have seen the real 6 Paths of Reincarnation Fist. What is your 6 Paths Divine Fist? At this moment, Bird Dade looked arrogant. He waved his hand, and terrifying Nanmingli fire erupted. The flames surged in the air and turned into a huge vermilion bird that charged towards Xia Juyo. The 6 Paths of Reincarnation Fist has been lost for a long time. In this world, my great Xia Dynasty's 6 Paths Divine Fist can replace the 6 Paths Reincarnation Fist. Xia Juyo was very arrogant as he used the 6 Paths Divine Fist again. However, this time, the 6 Paths Divine Fist was swallowed by the vermilion bird that was formed by flames. Moreover, the vermilion bird's momentum didn't slow down at all. It carried monstrous flames as it let out a long cry and swallowed Xia Juyo whole. This scene shocked everyone. They could not believe that the prince of the great Xia dynasty was gone, just like that. Insignificant skill. At this moment, Xia Juyo's voice rang out. The vermilion bird collapsed, and Xia Juyo appeared in front of everyone unscathed. He stood tall and straight. His hair danced in the wind. There seemed to be 6 paths floating in his eyes. The aura on his body increased tremendously. He was like a young king that looked down on the world. There are many people here. Do you dare to go to a more remote place and have a fight with me? Bird Dade's eyes shone with a sly light. He pointed at a mountain range in the distance and said, "Do you dare to go?" "Why wouldn't I? Xia Juyo dare?" Xia Juyo raised his eyebrows. In his eyes, Bird Dade was nothing. He was just an unknown nobody. To Xia Juyo, such a person was not a match at all. It was also because of Jiang Yueli's matter that Xia Juyo was enraged and attacked. If it were any other time, he wouldn't even bother to make a move. Bird Dade, don't do anything rash. Jiang Chun hurriedly sent a voice transmission. He wasn't worried about Bird Dade, but Xia Juyo. Bird Dade, this swindler, not only is he strong, his ability to trick people is also one of the best. Although Xia Juyo was also very strong, Jiang Chun felt that Xia Juyo was going to be screwed over by the Vermilion Bird King. Don't worry. Bird Dade was gratified. Don't worry about me. Am I freaking worried about you? Jiang Chun's face darkened. He was clearly worried about Xia Juyo. After all, if he killed Xia Juyo, then wouldn't the group of followers under Xia Juyo pursue him to the ends of the world? Most importantly, after leaving the blood path in the future, if the outside world knew that Xia Juyo died in the hands of Bird Dade, not only would Bird Dade suffer, but even Jiang Chun would be in trouble. Jiang Chun, it's time for us to start. At this moment, Jiang Haoran looked at him with a trace of confusion in his eyes. It was as if he had something to say to Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun also saw the confusion in Jiang Haoran's eyes and couldn't help but be puzzled. He asked casually, "What do you want to say?" "We were born from the same root." Jiang Haoran sighed. Jiang Chun was stunned for a moment when he heard this. He immediately reacted and thought to himself, "That's right. This guy's surname is also Jiang." Although there were many people with the surname Jiang on the godless continent, and there were even people with the same surname. However, since Jiang Haoran said this now, then it could be confirmed that Jiang Haoran was also from the Jiang family. However, when Jiang Chun tried to search through this body's memories, he couldn't find Jiang Haoran. You're from the Jiang family? Which branch are you from? Jiang Chun asked. The same branch as you. Jiang Haoran sighed. Now, the Jiang family's direct bloodline has lost its momentum, and I'm too lazy to intervene. It's good to cultivate in the Haoqi sect wholeheartedly. Oh, outside, you're upholding justice everywhere and upholding the so-called reason. Jiang Chun curled his lips and sneered. But you don't care about your own family affairs. How can I care? Jiang Haoran sighed. Only you and I are left in the Jiang family's direct bloodline. So, after today's battle, only one person from the Jiang family's direct bloodline will be left? Jiang Chun said contemptuously. You're really putting righteousness before family. That's the reason. Jiang Haoran said. You won't understand. Of course I won't understand. Jiang Chun said softly. You didn't take revenge for your family, but came to have a life and death battle with me, a member of the Jiang family's direct bloodline. You're really something. There's no need to say more. Let's begin. Jiang Haoran didn't seem to want to continue talking. With a wave of his hand, a surge of righteousness erupted. Then, a sky full of sword rays fell, as if thousands of swords were paying homage to their ancestors. Between heaven and earth, there was a clear sky that was caused by the righteous aura. Under the righteous aura, all filth would be annihilated. What's the use of the righteous aura? Jiang Chun said contemptuously. You can't even protect your own family, but you're upholding justice outside. What a joke. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, a murderous intent flashed in Jiang Chun's eyes, and a long flute appeared in his hand. Then a defensive formation appeared in front of Jiang Chun, and there were even restrictions and runes all around him. Taishang indifference. At this moment, Jiang Chun exclaimed softly in his heart. Then the long flute in his mouth vibrated slightly, and a melodious flute sound came out. The flute sound was dreamy, but it gave people a feeling of emptiness. It was as if under the flute sound, all distracting thoughts, all grievances, would be put down. It's just a demonic sound, Jiang Haoran said coldly. I have a breath of righteousness that can break all illusions in the world. Heh, the so-called righteous aura is just something to deceive yourself and others. Jiang Chun curled his lips, and the melody from the long flute gradually increased in pitch. After a dozen breaths, everyone saw that the righteous aura in the sky had disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by dark clouds, wind, rain, and thunder. That was something that evolved from the flute sound. Righteous aura? Heh, it's no match for the Taishang indifference. Jiang Chun said, turn back. Don't be deceived by the so-called righteousness and reason in your heart. I stand by my thoughts. Jiang Haoran said seriously. However, as soon as he said that, he realized that his heart was palpitating. He was a little absent-minded, as if he had fallen into a dreamland. Everything here was so beautiful. There was no hatred, no killing, and no blood. That was Jiang Haoran's ideal world. He fell silent. Although he knew that it was an illusion brought about by the flute sound, he did not want to leave that place. That's all there is to it, Jiang Chun said softly. Looking at Jiang Haoran, who had lost himself, he could not help but shake his head and sigh. You're still a direct descendant of the Jiang family. I'll spare your life today. Chapter 457. The song, Taishang, was emotionless, so how could the vicissitudes of life come about? The song, Taishang Indifference, made Jiang Haoran fall silent and unable to extricate himself from the illusion. At this time, as long as Jiang Chun was willing, he could take Jiang Haoran's life at any time. However, as Jiang Chun said, they were the only two left in the direct line of descent of the Jiang family. Jiang Haoran could put righteousness before family for the so-called justice and reason. However, Jiang Chun, could not do it. However, just as Jiang Chun was about to let go, he heard Jiang Haoran's voice. This is my ideal world. Unfortunately, it's an illusion after all. I've seen it. Jiang Chen's expression froze when he heard that. He stared at Jiang Haoran, who had woken up and was shocked. Obviously, Jiang Haoran had always known that it was an illusion and he had the ability to break free. However, Jiang Haoran wanted to see more of that perfect world before. Now that he had seen enough, he naturally woke up from the illusion. Do you still want to continue fighting? Jiang Chen asked. No. Jiang Haoran sighed. Jiang Haoran sighed. A complicated look flashed in his eyes as he asked, is the perfect world that I see also the world in your mind? What else? Jiang Chen said softly, is that kind of world good? Good. Jiang Haoran nodded, then shook his head and sighed. However, such a perfect world does not exist at all. No killing, no hatred, everything is so beautiful. This does not exist at all. A trace of disappointment flashed in Jiang Haoran's eyes. A perfect world did not exist at all. That was because wherever there were living beings, there would be hatred, killing, and war. Unless all the living beings in the world were dead. However, there was also a way to form a perfect world. That was to have a person who could suppress all the living beings in the world, set rules like order, and suppress the era. At that time, only one person in the world would reign supreme. If he did not want hatred and killing, then there would be no hatred and killing in the world. However, was there really such a person? If there comes a day when you reach the peak, suppressing an era, no one able to contend against you, what will you do? Jiang Haoran asked. It's just as I thought. Jiang Chen suddenly smiled. He shrugged his shoulders lazily and said, I'm a very lazy person. I don't like bloodshed. I just want to live a peaceful life. It's just that sometimes things don't turn out the way you want them to. Everything is against you. Jiang Chen sighed. This world has always been like this. Jiang Haoran sighed. Jiang Haoran didn't want to fight with Jiang Chen anymore. No one knew what he was thinking. Perhaps even he himself did not know. Kid, be more obedient from now on. Just then, Bird Dade flew over with an arrogant look on his face. Behind him, Xia Juyo's face was black and swollen, and his eyes flickered with resentment. He stared at Bird Dade's back, but he didn't dare to say anything. Jiang Chen was stunned. He asked, What's going on? It's nothing much. I just took in a little brother. Bird Dade laughed and took out a contract rune in front of everyone. The rune shone with a mysterious light, and Xia Juyo's name and blood essence were engraved on it. What the F***CK? A master-servant contract? Jiang Chen's eyes widened, and he was dumbfounded. Even Jiang Haoran was dumbfounded. What was going on? Why did Xia Juyo become Bird Dade's servant after he came back from a fight? This wasn't appropriate. The dignified prince of the great Xia dynasty had become someone else's servant. If news of this got out, the entire great Xia dynasty would explode. Despicable, Xia Juyo said coldly. If you didn't trick me, how could I become your servant? Are you a sore loser? Bird Dade squinted, then smiled indifferently and said, It's fine. You're my servant now, and your life is in my hands. You. Xia Juyo's face turned gloomy, and he threatened, I advise you to destroy this contract. Otherwise, the great Xia dynasty. You seem to be threatening me? Bird Dade mocked, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He said, Do you want to die? Xia Juyo was terrified when he heard that. He had no choice. His life was in Bird Dade's hands, and he didn't want to die. Yue, look at your fiancé. Not only is he ugly, but he's also very weak. He's been taken in as a servant in such a short time. Jiang Chen mocked. Yes, so ugly, so weak. Jiang Yue nodded and looked at Xia Juyo with disdain. She said, When I go back, I'll tell my father to cancel this marriage. Humph. Xia Juyo spat out a mouthful of blood when he heard that. He was originally proud and arrogant. Now, not only was he taken in as a servant, but he was also despised by his fiancée, and she even wanted to cancel the marriage. How could he accept this? After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Xia Juyo's eyes rolled back, and he fainted. Look, not only is he ugly, but he's also weak. Even his endurance is so weak, Jiangchen said. I really don't understand why my father agreed to this marriage. Anyway, I'm going to reject it, Jiang Yueli said seriously. Then, she felt wronged and muttered, Fortunately, I found out early. Otherwise, my future will be bleak. Jiang Chun, you're still here? At this moment, a large group of people rushed over from afar. They were led by the holy sons of the Holy Light cult and the Dark Shrine. At a rough glance, there were more than a dozen of them. Moreover, the lowest cultivation was at the upper Holy King stage, and the highest few were only a step away from the God state. Bird Dade, I'll leave these people to you. Jiang Chun waved his hand and said lazily, I don't feel like fighting recently. Why? Bird Dade asked. Men will feel uncomfortable for a few days, Jiang Chun muttered. Bird Dade's face darkened, and he said angrily, You're just lazy. What did you say? Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows and glared at Bird Dade. Bird Dade felt aggrieved. You don't want to fight, but you don't run. Now, you want me to be your fighter? Thinking of this, Bird Dade became even angrier. He kicked Xia Juyo, who had fainted, and woke him up. Then he pointed at the dozen people in the distance and said, Prove your strength in front of your fiancé. Go get rid of them for me. Xia Juyo was already furious. Now that he heard this, his eyes flashed with brilliance. In his heart, the most important thing now was to redeem his image in Jiang Yueli's heart. Yueli, just wait and see. I'm a genius, and I'm not weaker than anyone. Xia Juyo's eyes narrowed, and his aura skyrocketed again and again. 13 breaths later, Xia Juyo's cultivation broke through to the God state. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.